Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kushina tries to get Naruto back part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It began with the billowing crash of air into a sea of dark flames. The darkest night in Konoha's short history. A resentment sparked by the founder of a clan, fanned to a blaze by a man long dead, left to burn unchecked under the surface until the foundation of peace crumbled into ash beneath their feet. Minato? Kushina asked as she awoke, her husband already out of bed and at the window of their compound. Someone's attacking, he answered quickly as he took in the uncanny sight of dark illumination ravaging not only the Uzumaki clan compound but also various locations within the village itself. The Sarutobi clan had also been hit, as well as more standard blazes consuming other prominent clan grounds. Take Naruto, get to the safe room. But whatever she had to say was rendered meaningless as her husband disappeared in a yellow flash. Even if she had to protect her child, she couldn't bring herself to abandon her clansmen, not after nearly losing everyone once already. She barged out of their bedroom, bare feet patting against the wooden boards as she threw open the door to her son's room. "Naruto?" she asked quietly, urgently, breathing a sigh of relief when she saw her little boy. He had heard the sounds too, could hear the screams just as she could. "Mama?" he asked, worry playing on his little face. He was too young to fully understand, but he didn't need to. Death was starting to permeate the air. An aura of malice and despair thick enough that it was growing hard to breathe. Even so, the Uzumaki matriarch pasted a reassuring smile on her face as she swept him up into her arms. "It's okay, baby. Mama's here," she assured him, already calculating her next step. Minato had said to get to the safe room and she would. But she had to try to save someone else. These were her people being attacked. She couldn't do nothing. Back into a hallway only to get a glimpse of a shadow, a dark figure moving down the hall with ominous red eyes spinning wildly. She saw the figure's hands move and she leapt back into her son's room. Fire style. Grand fireball. In an instant, the darkness had been dispersed by a wave of flame consuming the hallway and crashing through the far wall. Naruto screamed, hiding himself in her hold as much as he could. She quickly shifted her hold on him to one hand to grab a kunai hidden in her sleepwear, barely in time to block the swift blade of the ninja she had seen. In the light this close, there was no mistaking the Uchiha before her. She wasn't familiar with all of the Uchiha, but she did recognize this one. A respected Chunin? "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her blade locked with his. "The Uchiha will rise." He snarled at her, backing off, hands already moving through seals. He wasn't fool enough to engage her at close range. But even so, she didn't need to be close to end this. Whoever he was, he had attacked her in her own home with deadly intent even as she held her infant son. She had no inclination to show mercy. Before the Chunin Uchiha could get through half of the seals for his technique, the back of Kushina's nightgown tore open, golden chains erupting from her back and skewering the invader with deadly swiftness. Any attempt he could make at dying vengeance was prevented as the chains bound his limbs while he took his last breaths. As he slumped in the grasp of her chakra constructs, she released him, discarded him. He was no longer important. What was important was the screams. She couldn't hear them anymore. The only sounds were the flames as they consumed her world. Her clan, her people they were. Naruto. What was important was Naruto. Minato would get revenge for them, she knew. But right now she had to keep her baby boy safe. No chance to be subtle now that she had released her chains. She sprinted down the hall paying no attention to the flames as they licked and scorched her feet. Another Uchiha wasn't even given the chance to cry in alarm as a golden chain struck, circled and snapped his neck. She kept moving, ignoring the shout of alarm as one of the Uchiha corpses was discovered. She didn't know or care which. She was already at the safe room door. Pressing a bloody hand against the wood, the ceiling matrix opened, allowing her to pass through and open the door. Slamming it behind her, she sunk to her knees as the seal slammed shut with an unnatural sound like a wooden clang. She heard the voices on the other side of the door. Which way did she go? "In here. I saw someone come this way. She has to be in here." "Wait, those are seals. It has to be a trap. A safe room or something. Uzumaki and their damned seals. Then we burn the place down around her. Fire style. Grand Fariba." And then more screams began. All the while, Kushina rocked her son soothingly, hiding his ears from the sounds of dying traitors as best she could as she sang to him, fighting to keep her voice steady through her tears. Meanwhile, Minato looked over the village with despair. It had taken him only a moment to deduce what was taking place. All it took was seeing the one clan compound that was completely untouched by the fighting. The Uchiha were staging a coup. It was horrifying how well coordinated it was. Each clan had been targeted, forcing them to delay in providing support to defend the village. Each clan attacked with surgical precision. Not to destroy, but to keep them occupied. He had a feeling most weren't even assaulted directly by ninja. The only ones who were the Uzumaki who had effectively adopted him after he married Kushina. And the Sarutobi, the home of the previous Hokage before him. They had focused entirely on removing the figures who could lead the village, in hopes of removing any choice but to allow the Uchiha to seize power. They had targeted him, too. And in a way he had not expected. His first flash from his home, it took him to the top of the Hokage monument so he could survey the situation, but he had to flash away again instantly as he saw the strange black flames consuming his landing point. Then again. And again. 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 Before long he was forced to give up finding a safe spot, returning to the monument, and throwing one of his Thunder God kunai to get himself away from the danger. Even then the dark flames had licked at his coat, forcing him to discard it. He had to protect his village. He had to. He suddenly flashed away from his position at the feeling of killing intent, just in time to avoid another burst of black flames. He whirled around, eyes scanning for the threat. Following his instincts, he threw another kunai and flashed to it, grabbing it out of the air and striking, clashing against another. He locked eyes with his opponent, most likely the instigator of this coup. They were Uchiha eyes. The Sharingan, but also different. An additional pattern could be seen in one of the notorious red eyes. The other was significantly darkened, but showed the same pattern. But more than that, Minato recognized the man who was trying so earnestly to kill him. 108. Fugaku Uchiha spoke, drawing out each word. That is how many of your seals were found throughout the village. How auspicious. Do you consider yourself a pious man, fourth Hokage? The blonde wasn't about to indulge such a pointless question. Why are you doing this, Fugaku? I should think it obvious, Fugaku answered without answering. Once again sensing the threat before it happened, Minato flashed away, once again dodging the doubtless dangerous technique. It was only then as he watched his enemy did he see the rivulet of blood run down from the Uchiha's eye. That technique, it injured him? And it came from the darkened eye. He must have used it hundreds of times to cause this much chaos and damage all at once. The clan head sighed through his nose, having hoped for an easy win. An instant technique versus an instant technique. The moment of intent was all the warning the Hokage needed to escape. He really was just that good. Since the very founding of this village, made possible only by our cooperation with the Senju, the Uchiha have been treated with suspicion and disdain. The second's hatred for us was legendary, and with his merciful death, his student was chosen to lead the village. Then as the Senju clan dwindled to nothing more than a single gambling lush, we knew our time had come. Fugaku's disgust was overwhelming as he spoke his next words. Then you came along. The student of Hiruzen. Married into a clan of red-haired Senju. With your selection as the fourth Hokage, we knew that Madara had been right all along. That we would never receive the recognition we were owed, that we had earned. Minato settled into a ready stance, knowing the battle was inevitable, and knowing just how deadly an opponent Fugaku had become. From a man who had hidden this much strength, and instead of using it for the sake of the village he turned that power against it. You'll have to forgive my lack of sympathy. You have no idea what this power cost me, Fugaku spoke quietly, dangerously. And after you attacked my family, my village, I don't care. Your ambition ends here. The battle was as short and intricate as one might expect of two veteran ninja. Minato flashing back and forth across the battlefield, setting up new points to use to ambush the Uchiha. Fugaku taking the Uchiha pyromania to an extreme. He no longer used his hidden technique whose flames still burned long after they should have extinguished for lack of fuel. But that did not diminish the danger of an Uchiha with an extensive repertoire of fire jutsu. It was no fire that sped the end of the battle, however. Instead, a single moment. As the two men locked eyes, the other speciality of the Uchiha rose to the fore. The ultimate in genjutsu. Tsukuyomi. Seconds became hours for Minato. Hours trapped in his own mind, experiencing every horror of Fugaku's imagining. He was given the chance to experience being consumed by the fires of Amaterasu. Being flayed alive. Slowly disemboweled. Each new horror ended with returning to full wellness, only to feel the next nightmare begin. And through it all, he did not break. That spirit, that fire in his eyes was never extinguished. So Fugaku got creative. He showed the Hokage what might have been happening to his wife and son at that very moment. Forcing the man to watch as his wife was violated and mutilated, all the while screaming for him to save her. his infant son's wails as he was carved open. And then the perspective shifted. Minato no longer watching the despair of those he loved, instead, he was inflicting it. Hands moving of their own will as he defiled Kushina's body. As he snapped his own child's neck. In the real, waking world, Fugaku almost collapsed. The fight had taken almost everything he had. But it was enough. He had broken Minato Namikaze. He dragged his feet forward, approaching the blonde who had fallen to his knees, eyes vacant. Goodbye, fourth Hokage, he breathed, drawing a kunai, no longer sure of having enough chakra to perform a jutsu. What I do for the good of the village, and of the Uchiha. With a blinding yellow flash, the fallen Hokage who had previously been feet away, was now only inches away. A pain blossomed in Fugaku's chest, then roared for attention as he felt Minato's kunai drive deep into his heart and twist. Your dying words, Minato gasped, seizing the Uchiha's arm, should not be a lie. Fugaku's mouth opened, but he couldn't force out any words, only a confused gurgle. After all that he had suffered, Minato was still able to fight? But as much as he was impressed, one should not underestimate an Uchiha's appetite for spite and vengeance. One last time, Fugaku's right eye spun, the dark flames of Amaterasu igniting on the Hokage's body. With only one eye remaining, Fugaku watched the Hokage hold him with shaking hands as the all-consuming flames began to spread from his midsection. Even in the face of what he knew was certain death, Minato still held on to do his duty. Even in his own dying moments, Fugaku could only hate him for it. Lord Hokage! A voice shouted minutes later, a squad led by Orochimaru finding the two men. He had seen the signs of the battle from below. Whoever the current Hokage had been fighting must have been worthy of note. Dear oh dear, the Sannin tutade on seeing Minato's state. Form a perimeter, fetch the Mednin, he ordered absently, approaching the fallen village leader. He took a moment to examine the Hokage. The flames had done their work superbly. Even if efforts were made to save him, there was no chance. Fire sealing method, he intoned, presenting a seal that drew the flames inside. Not extinguishing them, just moving them. Orochimaru planned to have a great deal of fun studying the properties of the strange technique. How are you feeling, Lord Hokage? He asked, sounding only vaguely interested. The blonde coughed, blood staining his charred lips. I've had better days, he rasped. The Uzumaki, Kushina, my son, are they? Squads are moving in now, the snake informed him. It seems they and the Sarutobi were hit the hardest. Though with the Uzumaki's smaller active ninja population. Minato suppressed a laugh for how much it hurt. You have terrible bedside manner. Well, a medic nin is on the way. A spray of acrid blood spewed out of the Hokage's mouth. I think we both know that isn't going to matter. The Sannin remained silent. Orochimaru, would you do something for me? Far be it from me to ignore a dying man's last request. Look after the village for me. And tell my wife I'm his lips moved, but the last word never formed, trailing off as Minato Namikaze, fourth Hokage, fell into his final rest. The snake Sannin stood from his kneeling position, looking down on the man he had resented for so long. The position of Hokage he had coveted, given to him just for being in the right place at the right time. Kukukukuku. He cackled quietly to himself as the medic approached all too late. Oh, what a good day it was! The dying days of the Second Ninja War. It had been a war most villages laid directly at Konoha's feet. The instigator of the second conflict that would set all of the great villages and several minor villages at each other's throats for years. And as it slowly drew to a close, it seemed Konoha still remained the strongest among them. Still undaunted by the hostility of the other four, even if that was helped by those others having their own conflicts between them. However, those conflicts were set aside for the sake of dealing Konoha a blow that would be much harder to weather. If they couldn't strike at Konoha, they would band together to destroy their enemy's greatest ally along with their reputation. The operation to destroy Yuzushiogakure had been a great success. A vast majority of the famed Uzumaki clan wiped out, a minority captured by the invading ninja. It was practically a miracle that Konoha got word of the imminent attack on their ally. They had arrived nearly too late, only in time to rescue 26 survivors. Those survivors were brought back to Konoha, first as refugees, then as a ratified clan of Konoha years later. Through a legal technicality, Kushina Uzumaki, already a resident and licensed ninja of Konoha, became the clan head as only a genin. Still, with the support of her grieving family, she helped the clan find their feet once again. The Third Ninja War broke out. Once again the world was filled with the chaos and despair of war, and the Uzumaki stood side by side with native Konoha ninja, eager to extract the price of their family's lives and blood. At the closing of the war, Minato Namikaze distinguished himself enough that he was selected by the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi to succeed him as he retired. Years passed. The village entered a new age of prosperity under their young and inspiring leader. He married his sweetheart Kushina Uzumaki, who bore him a son despite dangerous circumstances surrounding the pregnancy. Years later, disaster struck. Not from outside, but within. The Uchiha, having long considered themselves unappreciated for their contributions to Konoha, staged an attack in the dead of night. While the great clans of Konoha were distracted with assaults that could not be ignored, two clans in particular were hit harder than any others. The Sarutobi put up a valiant fight to repel the traitors, but not before they lost their most famed member, their clan elder Hiruzen Sarutobi. The Uzumaki were not so successful and were hit even harder. Perhaps for wanting to get the current Hokage out in the open, perhaps for resentment over the Uzumaki's distant relation to the Senju. Regardless of the reason, the Uzumaki, nearly wiped out once already, were slaughtered en masse. The only survivors, Kushina Uzumaki and her infant son Naruto. While the Hokage battled and defeated the leader of the Fugaku Uchiha, he lost his own life in the battle, naming Orochimaru of the Sannin as the fifth Hokage in his dying moments. The judgment of the Uchiha clan was swift. Many had fallen in their failed coup. Those who survived were each and every one executed. The only ones spared the wrath of a vengeful village were the children too young to have had any contribution or awareness of the clan's actions. Less than a dozen remained, including Fugaku's young sons. It was decreed that the young Uchiha would be monitored in secrecy, on the understanding that while the children could not be blamed for their elders' actions, they could also not be trusted. A desire for vengeance was a poisonous thing and could not be left to fester. And so remained the last remnants of the Uzumaki clan. Twice massacred, on the verge of true extinction. A mother and son trying to pick up the pieces of their family. Of their legacy. Naruto. Kushina's call for her son got no response. Come on, wake up. You don't want to be late for your big day, you know. Still nothing. Ugh, why do I bother, she muttered to herself, storming towards his room. Opening the door, she found it was still dark inside, the blinds closed. Naruto lay sprawled out in bed, one leg hanging off the edge, half his body out of the covers, clad only in his boxers, snoring loudly. Naturally, Kushina did what any good mother does in this situation and drew the blinds open with a snap, letting sunlight flood into the room. Really? She asked in disbelief as he didn't even crack an eye open. Fine. Don't blame me. This is what you get for being a lazy but, you know. Picking him up in a princess carry, she took him to the washroom, muttering all the while, supposed to be a ninja, can't even wake up on such an important day. You're just getting what's coming to you. Ripping open the washroom door, she yanked off his boxers and dumped him onto the stool. Of course, that was the moment he decided it was time to wake up. Why? Splash! He jumped from his seat in surprise as he was more forcefully woken by a bucket of water getting dumped over his head. He was just as quickly pushed back down. Jaya! What the? Where, frantically, he looked around to see he was in the washroom, his mother looming menacingly over him with a scrubbing brush. Mom, what the hell? Because somebody, she said airily, taking the brush to his back, decided the day of his graduation exam was the perfect day to sleep in. Taking a step as she worked at cleaning her stubborn boy, she realized she had soaked the bottom of her dress. Oh shoot! With a quick movement she shucked her clothes and tossed them back outside the room. Naruto didn't take particular notice that his mother just decided to get naked behind him. It wasn't a completely unusual situation for them. They had been very close as he grew up, hiding nothing from one another. After all that they had left was each other. Kushina could be a little overbearing, a little smothering at times, but he would never blame her for it. It probably helped this unusual closeness and lack of shyness that when her soft, full breasts pressed against him she didn't make a big deal out of a certain part of him growing, rising. For her part, of course she didn't mention it. It was perfectly natural for a boy his age to get excited around a beautiful woman's naked breasts. And she was, after all, a beautiful woman. With amazing breasts. Uzumaki longevity was a wonderful thing. Despite being well into her 30s, Kushina had the face and body of a woman more than 10 years her junior. Perkiness included. I'm sorry, Naruto mumbled, I just got so excited last night I couldn't sleep, you know? With his blood flow going the wrong way for proper thought, it took an extra second for realization to set in. Wait, the exam. I'm not gonna be late, am I? I didn't wake you up like this for nothing, you know? She pointed out, leaning over his shoulder to get at his sensitive bits that were starting to look a little angry. The cleaning morphed in that moment into a full-on mom hug. Ooh, I'm so proud of you. My little man is all grown up, about to become a real ninja. Mom! Don't call me little! He fumed. She giggled at his wounded pride. Sorry, sweetie. My big, strong man. She cooed instead, turning the thing they were both ignoring into a bit of a problem. I'll leave you to take care of that, she said, both knowing what she meant. Then I'll come back and we can take a soak together and go over what you know so you're ready for the exam. Sound good? That sounds great. Thanks, Mom. He grinned up at her. Be quick, okay? I'll be back in a little bit after I check on breakfast. He watched her leave, actively not thinking about how he watched her hips sway as she went. She had asked him to be quick. There would be no problem there. He already felt fit to burst as he began stroking himself. He tried to pull his thoughts towards other girls. To Sakura, she was pretty and smart, and strangely nice to him. Or Ino, who was his academy class idol. The memories of the way she acted around him added to the pressure in his balls, imagining what her sultry looks might mean for the future. But in the end, imagination and daydreams couldn't compare to the memory of the real woman's naked body so recently pressed up against him. In the end, his seed erupted from his cock as he thought of his own mother's soft breasts wrapped around it. He breathed just a little harder as he watched his seed wash away down the drain, a feeling of familiar shame. It wasn't the first time he came thinking of his mother in a sexual way. It wouldn't be the last. He pushed down that shame as he heard her footsteps signaling her return. He turned, seeing her coming through the door. Her long red hair framing her face, cascading down in a silken curtain over her chest. Her voluptuous and fit body, softened somewhat in her semi-retirement. The graceful V-shape between her hips ending in an enticing tuft of scarlet hair hiding what lay beneath. He felt his urges rising again but did his best to push them back down. Are you ready? She asked, her legs parting slightly, offering a glimpse of something pink hiding just out of sight. Naruto swallowed. Yeah. Stiffly, he followed her into the bath, trying to focus on relaxing, on preparing for an important day. Almost an hour later, Naruto was fully dressed, ready to get to the academy, get his headband and become a real ninja like his parents. His mother gave him one last hug before he went on his way, a sadness in her eyes almost concealed by the overwhelming pride she felt in her darling boy. Your father would be so proud of you right now, she said, getting a little choked up. Naruto pulled her in for another hug. Thanks, Mom. Knock him dead, baby, she whispered before pushing him out the door. He grinned and waved back at her as he leapt up to the rooftops. And so Kushina was left alone. As with most days, her son went to the academy, wondering what to do with herself for the day. A wondering swiftly answered when a dog-masked ANBU agent suddenly appeared before her. Lady Kushina, the Hokage requests your presence. She frowned heavily at him. I've told you not to call me that, dog, she reminded him. I have no idea what you're talking about, ma'am. You and I have barely spoken. She stared at her husband's last remaining student hiding behind his ANBU identity. It was frustrating sometimes when he did this. She didn't have many people left she could count on. She didn't like it when one of them forced distance between them, even if it was part of the job. She sighed. Tell him I'm on my way. Understood. Naruto slapped his cheeks, trying to banish his nerves before entering the classroom. He didn't want anyone to see him freaking out. Exam day. The day he would finally get to be a ninja. He was confident mostly. He had no doubts he would ace some of it. The taijutsu exam was his to fail. The ninjutsu exam? Well, he hadn't mastered all of the basic three, but his substitution was flawless, his transformation excellent. His clones could be a little shaky on occasion, but not enough to fail him. Tool use would be fine. As for his elective class, he took advanced ninjutsu. Sealing had been tempting since it would have been an easy pass. Hell, most of the course was material the village learned from his clan. No, it was more important he learned something, and if that was his goal, of course he should learn more kick-ass jutsu. Sasuke Uchiha taking the same elective made it less fun, but Naruto took his mother's advice and ignored him. The only problem today was, well, he didn't expect to do great on the written exam. It wasn't weighted heavily for final scores, but he knew it would be the thing to trip him up. With everything else, he knew it wouldn't cause him to fail outright, but your father would be so proud of you. He wanted that. He wanted to be someone his parents could be proud of, even if his dad might not see it. Passing the exam was a foregone conclusion, but even so, he studied hard no matter how bored it made him. He knew all the known nature transformations, the history of the village front to back. All of the clans of Konoha past and present like the his eyes widened. Oh no! He was drawing a blank. And he wasn't even taking the test yet. Naruto! Two voices exclaimed at once, startling him out of his building nerves. Seeking the source, he saw the two frenemies Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno. He caught the tail end of their greeting smiles before their attention was stolen by their shared irritation at each other, resulting in annoyed glares from both. Hey Sakura, Ino! He called back, only increasing Ino's irritation at being addressed second. Are you guys ready for the exam? Of course. Ino answered with a confident swagger and a flip of her hair. I got the top grade for my elective and my ninjutsu are great. I'm going to get the top score, Sakura boastfully predicted, not wanting Ino to win their impromptu contest. The mezzanine teacher wouldn't stop praising me for my perfect chakra control. Not hard to control with reserves as small as yours, Ino took the opportunity to snipe. Sakura frowned harshly at her former friend. What was that elective you took again, Ino? Slut studies? Infiltration, Ino answered with gritted teeth only to become all smiles. But I can understand it's hard for information to sink in without bouncing off that billboard you call a forehead. What was that, Ino pig? You heard me, billboard brow. Neither girl noticed until several minutes later that the boy who sparked this round of their conflict had already left. Nor their teacher coming up behind them. Iruka had plenty of practice dealing with the pair's catfights. Calmly he separated them and dragged them into the classroom to take part in the exam. If nothing else, the image of the girls being dragged in by the nape of their necks still trying to get at each other broke a lot of the tension the other students were feeling. I trust you all prepared well for this. I have faith in each and every one of you, the teacher assured the class as he started passing out the written exam. Today you'll show us how all of your hard work has paid off. Keep your paper face down until I give you permission to begin. Not all that far away, in the same building in fact, Kushina Uzumaki was climbing the stairs of the Hokage Tower. It wasn't a place she visited regularly. She had become more than a bit of a homebody since everything. The last time she had been here was Naruto's enrollment at the academy? No, there had been an incident with Naruto, and the younger brother of the new Uchiha clan head she was called in for. Kushina wasn't sure what brain-dead idiot decided two boys whose fathers had killed each other should be put in close quarters every day for years on end. As much as it was obvious that it was a bad idea, Orochimaru had supported it in the end. Taken the ass-covering excuse of the teacher that the boys needed to learn to tolerate each other, otherwise why were any Uchiha spared at all? That was a bad day. She had gotten very angry that day. The Hokage's office needed a new desk afterward. And a new wall. The worst part was that she had somewhat proved the idiot teacher's point. The emotional wounds were still raw for her even so many years later. In the end, she had simply told Naruto that she understood if he couldn't get along with the Uchiha. She advised that if he couldn't, then he should just ignore them. There was nothing that could be done to fix the vicious rift between the two heavily diminished clans. The best that could be expected would be a mutual tolerance of the other's existence. She shook her head, her long scarlet hair flaring out with the movement to fall neatly down her back once again. It was no good to dwell on such dark things. This meeting had nothing to do with any of that, she was sure. A terrifying thought seized her. What if they wanted Naruto and Sasuke on the same genin team? No, Orochimaru wouldn't take that kind of optimistic stupidity that far. If the two were forced to work together, there was a good chance one would kill the other. Naturally, the Uchiha would be the one to die. There was no way her baby would lose to some punk Uchiha. She had taught him well. Lady Uzumaki. A familiar voice called from behind the reception desk. Kushina racked her brain to recall the name of the young man manning the desk. Chunin Yakushi, right? She asked the bespectacled, silver-haired receptionist. Yes, ma'am, he nodded, though it's special Jonin Kabuto Yakushi now. Oh. Congratulations. She offered with a warm smile. I'm sure the Hokage is very proud of your progress, you know. Yes, ma'am, he agreed again with a slight smile of his own. With my promotion I can now act as Lord Orochimaru's full-time assistant. It's a great honor. I'm sure you'll live up to it. Thank you, ma'am. The conversation was suddenly interrupted by the sound of an explosion behind the door to the Hokage's office. Kushina was initially alarmed until she saw the long-suffering look of the Hokage's new assistant. Kabuto moved from behind the desk and opened the door, letting a wave of heat escape and allowing the Uzumaki matriarch to see inside. Kukukuka. Kukukukuka. The Hokage cackled, his face bathed in sinister shadows by the light of the bonfire sitting on his desk. Reams upon reams of paperwork burning to ash in a great conflagration. This is the will of fire Sarutobi-sensei was talking about. I feel it. It's exhilarating. Kushina looked at the resigned assistant. You don't look like this is out of the ordinary. It isn't, he answered. If he's in an impatient mood, we give him a bunch of the most pointless paperwork to express his frustrations on. The allowances one must make for the eccentricity of a village leader. Lord Hokage, Lady Uzumaki is here to see you. Oh. Wonderful. The snake-like man cheered, running through hand seals to blast the ashes out of the window. Kushina, please come in. Kabuto, could you send for Danzo? Of course, sir, Kabuto answered swiftly, offering a shallow bow before returning to his desk. Kushina adopted a confused expression as she entered what used to be her husband's office. It didn't seem Orochimaru's assistant was sending for anyone. He doesn't have to do anything, the snake Sannin explained for her benefit. Danzo already knew I wanted him here the moment I said his name. It is vitally important for shinobi to know where they must be and when, Danzo himself agreed, having arrived without Kushina noticing. She knew she wasn't that rusty to miss his arrival without him pulling something significant. Danzo Shimura might have been one of the oldest living ninja in the Leaf, but that was an argument in favor of his extreme competence, not against it. One didn't live to his age as a ninja without either retiring or being one of the dangerous men alive. On paper, Danzo was both. On paper. Well, good morning to you too, Kushina offered the elder ninja. Now are we all here or are we waiting for someone else before you tell me why you sent for me? You are here to discuss the future of your clan, Danzo spoke first. Thank you, Danzo, Orochimaru interrupted in a tone that translated to shut up. While the Hokage had invited his advisor into the meeting, it wasn't to take control of it. Yes, it is time to talk about what Konoha can do for the Uzumaki in your time of need. Our time of need? Kushina echoed with a slightly bitter laugh. Did that start today? I had no idea. Had you asked, the village would have given you and your son whatever aid you would have requested, Orochimaru said somberly. I owe your late husband that much at least. Instead, you chose to more or less sequester yourself within your clan grounds. That too was your choice, and while it was regrettable to lose such a capable kunoichi from our forces, we wouldn't begrudge you your time to mourn. Of course, that meant with no active ninja among the Uzumaki, they effectively had no clan head to represent them. Danzo interjected. Today that changes. Naruto, Kushina breathed, turning narrowed eyes on both men in turn. He's not even graduated yet. What are you plotting? Kukukuka. The Hokage cackled in that unsettling way of his. Nothing nefarious. Of course not. As I said, I owe my current position to Minato. One of my fondest dreams achieved with his blessing. If I can't pay him back directly, then why would I not settle that debt by aiding his son? And should everything work out, it will benefit Konoha also. It's so wonderfully convenient when several problems can be solved at once. As for being quick to consider him a clan head, Danzo added, you yourself set that precedent when you took that position as only a genin. While it is not ideal, I am sure your son would be more than willing to rise to the challenge. Attention filled the air as Kushina's hair began to rise and take on a life of its own. Orochimaru didn't seem especially perturbed by the growing ire of the Uzumaki. Even so, he decided to stop dancing around the main subject. It is past time we began implementing measures to allow for the clans in danger of expiring to flourish once again. As such, we will be implementing what is being called the Clan Restoration Act. A measure to allow for near-extinct clans to take unusual measures, repopulate more quickly. Somehow, that did not settle Kushina's mood at all. If you're talking about a breeding program, the ANBU hiding above us won't save you from me. Unfortunately not, Danzo cut in, not fearing the redhead's wrath in the slightest. For you that was impractical to implement given your status as Konoha's Jinchuriki. Any pregnancy would be a great danger to the village. For your son there is no such danger, and yet our Hokage disapproves of such measures. The elder's disappointment in that was audible. Well, what do you know, Kushina scoffed. If this is the alternative, my husband made the right choice, Orochimaru. The snake Sannin practically glowed on hearing the praise and approval, even backhanded as it was. Yes, I am a great Hokage, kukukuku. Orochimaru. Ah. The pale man jerked as he awoke from his reverie. Yes, the act doesn't force anything. The other clans would be furious if we tried to force anything on any clan for the precedent it would set. Instead, it ensures that for clans that are in danger of dying out, the majority of laws that define lawful intimate conduct do not apply. Your son can be intimate with any and as many women as he likes so long as they consent. The only other restriction is that he can only legally marry one woman for the sake of deciding the heir to the clan. Other women on whom he produces children would be considered part of the Uzumaki clan also, but not your son's wives. More like mistresses? Or concubines, Kushina finished for him before he could come up with another pretty euphemism. I'm surprised the other clans aren't furious at the favoritism. What favoritism? Orochimaru asked. This law doesn't only apply to your son. It will apply going forward to any clan that is in similar danger. In fact, another clan is eligible already. The Hataki. Oh no, Kushina moaned. She could imagine what Kakashi's reaction would be. Have you told him yet? He giggled to himself, said he was just like some character or other from Jiraiya's smut novels, then left, Danzo spoke irritably. Naturally, he won't participate. Well, you're not wrong, you know, Kushina agreed, looking and sounding sympathetic. Her husband's last student was a broken man. Forming intimate relationships was not at all something the last Hatake was interested in. So it's all Naruto's choice if he wants to go along with this? Of course, Orochimaru nodded. Well, there will be measures put in place to encourage young women to participate. It would be asking them to be in a polyamorous relationship with a single man, and I've been made to understand that's not a desirable circumstance. Kushina remembered the times her son complained about the two girls who fought over him. Or the Hyuga girl who wasn't quite as subtle as she thought she was hanging around the Uzumaki compound. She imagined at least some young girls wouldn't be so difficult to sway towards such an arrangement. Though she could already imagine how the contest would shift from who got to be with him to who got to marry him. She would be lying if she said she wasn't at all intrigued by the whole arrangement. Her boy being an awesome super stud oodles of grandbabies, well, didn't you just think of everything? Kukuku, oh, I can't claim all the credit. My apprentices were happy to point out flaws in my original proposal. Clan and relationship dynamics, ugh, I rarely have the patience to understand such things. That sentiment underscored by a look as though he had tasted something awful. That said, I am confident in it. You're welcome to have a look at the exact text of the law. And when will my son learn of this? Today, Danzo answered. Today? Your son should not rise to his new position within the village before he learns of it, the old ninja explained reasonably. The other clans and the village as a whole will learn of it over the next few days. Better he not be entirely blindsided. Oh, not entirely, Kushina thought to herself bitterly. Only mostly. Hours later, Naruto was celebrating with his classmates, cheering and backpatting all around for all of the newly graduated students. While the parents had arrived, they were happy to stand back and watch their children for a time, staring fondly at the crowd of teenagers proud of their first accomplishment as ninja of the leaf. It was Naruto himself who first broke from the crowd of youngsters as he saw a shock of red hair he wasn't expecting to see. "Mom!" he shouted, running over, grinning up at her under his new headband. Even if it might embarrass him, she wasn't able to resist from sweeping him into a crushing hug. "Congratulations, son." "Thanks, Mom." He continued to grin as she pulled away, only to suddenly look confused. "But I didn't think you would come." "Well, it's your big day, you know?" She deflected. "Oh, you look so handsome in that headband. If your hair were longer, I might have mistaken you for your father." He rubbed his nose, his cheeks pinkening in embarrassment at the compliment. "Have you said goodbye to your friends?" "Yeah." "Good, we have a meeting with the Hokage to get to." Naruto blinked, a little awe in his gaze. "The Hokage? What about?" "I think it might be better to let him explain." A little while later, Naruto sat in the Hokage's office, dumbstruck. Danzo was no longer present. Kushina had insisted he not be for this meeting. Advisor and trusted friend of the third or not, he just rubbed her the wrong way. The explanation of Naruto's new status had been eye-opening for the boy. That he was suddenly clan head was one thing. He had honestly assumed his mother had been clan head this whole time, only now learning the Uzumaki had been without one for over a decade. But on top of that, to suddenly be responsible for repopulating it. It was a lot to take in at once. But if this was so important, why, he furrowed his brow, I mean, I wouldn't want it to happen. But why didn't this come up for Mom? There are safety concerns, Orochimaru offered evasively, that make her bearing more children difficult. Safety concerns? The blonde exclaimed, a voice filled with fear. "Mom, are you okay?" No, I'm fine, Naruto, she assured him quickly. It's just, she sighed to herself, having known this day would have to come eventually. "Could you tell him? He needs to know." "Naruto," the snake Sannin spoke, arms crossed, "your mother is what is called a Jinchuriki. You learned of the tailed beasts in the academy?" The boy nodded. "Konoha is custodian of the 9 tails, the great demon fox. In order to keep the tailed beasts contained, they are sealed away, often into people as a means of controlling them. However, due to the 9 tails being so powerful, the most powerful among all the tailed beasts, it requires a person with a strong life force to contain it. Ever since the founding of Konoha, this has been the duty of the Uzumaki. First your ancestor Mito, the wife of Hashirama Senju. And when she passed, the beast was transferred to and sealed within your mother. She has been its secret guardian ever since. And when the time comes to find a new host, it will be one of your children or grandchildren that will take on this duty. It is something no other clan would be capable of." "Whoa," Naruto breathed, looking at his mother with new eyes. "You were this cool and important?" She smacked him on the back of the head. Why were you saying it like I wasn't cool before, you know? Oh. He whined, rubbing at the spot. You are. I always thought you were awesome, but now you're way more awesome, you know. Oh, Kushina uttered, suddenly feeling and very much looking bashful. Well, thank you. But I don't get it. What does that have to do with you not having more kids? When it comes to the 9 tails, no seal is perfect, Orochimaru cut in again to explain. Extreme trauma can cause the seal to weaken. Childbirth is one such trauma that can cause it. When you were being born, it happened in secret, far outside the village just in case something went wrong. Thankfully, nothing did. But that is why no one even suggested your mother try to repopulate the Uzumaki herself. Risking the 9 tails breaking free would be too much to contemplate. And it would be a terrible thing to ask of a widow, Kushina added sharply. As sure. So is there anything I have to do? As part of the Restoration Act? Orochimaru asked rhetorically. No. It is entirely up to you what you do to rebuild your clan. For being clan head? Still no. As the head of the Uzumaki clan, your responsibilities are to mobilize your clan should anything threaten the leaf, ensure the viability of the ninja in your clan should war break out, and one day provide a vessel for the 9 tails, hopefully far in the future. Those will be important once you bring women into your clan and they give you children. Until then, it's essentially an honorary title. Naruto nodded. Do you have any other questions? No, I don't think so. Should you think of any in future, I would be willing to answer them. I owe a great deal to your family. It's the very least I can do. Thanks, Naruto answered, only to get an elbow to the head from his mother. I mean, thank you, Lord Hokage. The mother and son bowed before leaving, taking the stairs down the tower in silence. Only once they were outside did Kushina feel comfortable enough to ask. So? She started with fake cheer. It's a lot to take in, right? She put a hand on her son's shoulder as they walked through the streets of the village. How are you holding up? Yeah, it's a lot, he admitted, but even so a smile found its way onto his face. It's kind of great though, isn't it? Huh? I mean, I don't really remember before everything happened. It's just, we have all that space, it feels like we had a huge family, you know? It won't be the same. We can't bring it back. But I think I'd like having a big family. Kushina wondered to herself whether he really didn't remember even deep down. Because his feelings seemed to match hers so well. Yeah, I think so too. I know you've wanted this for a long time. Just do your best. That was what her father had told her. After so long trying to convince him how great it would be for their clan, the news that had come to them this week had finally convinced him. Ino Yamanaka had finally gotten her dad's permission to pursue Naruto Uzumaki in earnest. She didn't really care that much about how good it would be for her to make a blood tie between the Yamanaka and the Uzumaki through her children. She just wanted him because she thought he was fun and hot. But with the Hokage's new declaration, there was no losing play for her to make a move. Either she got with him as one of many, or she won the ultimate prize of being his legal wife. Either one would be fine by her, though she was Ino Yamanaka and Ino Yamanaka played to win. She didn't even consider the possibility that he might turn her down. As if that would ever happen. The most beautiful flower of the Yamanaka? Please. He would take her and thank her for the privilege. Even better, once she got him, she could even bring Sakura in. They wouldn't just be friends again without the need to compete, they could be like sisters. So, what was her grand strategy? Her great plot to win Naruto Uzumaki's heart? It was simple, really. Hey Naruto. Hey Ino. How's it going? First girl wins. Oh well, you know, she answered, twisting in place as she played with her hair. My mom just offered to cover my shift at the flower shop last minute. Wow, that's super nice of her. He was so earnest and naive sometimes. Yeah, but it was so last minute I don't even know what to do with all this free time, she lamented. You wanna hang out? Well, I was gonna do some ninjutsu training today, he wavered. She did her best to look disappointed. But sure, hanging out with you sounds great. Great. She cheered, suddenly all smiles again as she forcefully looped her arm through his. Then let's go to your house. And my house? Yeah, I've always wanted to see, that's okay, right? His hesitation had no chance of winning out against her pleading look. Sure. I mean, that's fine. She laid her head on his shoulder as they walked, a victorious smile hidden from his sight. Stage 1 complete. The Uzumaki compound. A small section toward the west edge of the village, much like the other clans, far away from the village gate. Several roofs with red tiling, each marked with the Uzumaki spiral. Only one building was currently in use now. A comfortable home meant for more than the two who lived there. Even the only lived-in residence felt empty. Ino almost felt ashamed of her slight seductive manipulations. Comparing the life Naruto lived, it felt so lonely compared to hers. Every time she went home she would have at least a few of her clansmen greet her. Was this why he was so outgoing, so friendly and cheerful? The guilt washed away when she remembered why she was doing this. It wouldn't just be for her. Yes, she wanted Naruto, but if she got together with him he wouldn't be so alone anymore, right? For Naruto's part, he was looking around confused. The seals marking the entryway should have triggered, letting his mom know he had come back, that he had brought a guest. Had she gone out too? That was strange. But he soon had other things on his mind. Show me your room? Ino asked, putting on an image of innocent curiosity. He blinked. Swallowed. She was really close. The scent of flowers he couldn't name invading his senses. Why yeah, he stammered, flushed. He wasn't even aware his feet were moving as he led her through the house to his bedroom, eyes only on this girl who was a girl. A girl he had brought home. A girl. His thoughts cycled on that over and over. His mind stopped protesting completely, only focused on what was happening, what it might lead to. His hormones took control, higher processes gone, he could only think to do whatever Ino wanted if it meant things might happen. As he stopped in front of his room, Ino disconnected from him, sliding open the door and skipping inside. She made a show of inspecting it, bringing him a feeling of anxiousness as he awaited her judgment. Wow, it's neater than I thought it'd be, she mused, one finger to her pursed lips. A pose that brought yet more lewd thoughts to his mind. He suddenly felt grateful to his mom for tidying things after he went out. Only in this moment did he realize his slight slob-like tendencies might be a problem if he brought girls home. She took another look around the room, noticed the desk, the chairs, ignored both to instead bounce down onto his bed. Well? You gonna join me? His mouth felt dry, his feet moving on their own again to take him to his bed, his legs bending to place him next to her sitting on his bed. Things were happening. Would things happen? It felt like things were about to happen. On his bed. She went to his bed. That meant things, right? She wanted to do things? Naruto? Yeah. It came out loud, she flinched back. Sorry, yeah? Her left hand crossed her body to grab his, she watched his eyes dilate at the contact. You know I like you, right? He didn't trust his voice anymore after last time. He nodded. I want to be with you. I have for a long time. Her body turned to face him fully, her face coming closer to his, her breasts brushing against him with the movement. Do you want to be with me too? His answer was almost immediate. It almost came out as an eager shout like before. But somehow in this moment, that question, it sparked a realization. Something he couldn't just ignore. There's something I should probably tell you first, he spoke, feeling regret with every word if it would chase her off. I already know, she whispered, he could feel her breath on his skin, there'll be others. I don't care. Daddy finally gave his blessing, so I'm being honest with what I want. She took his hand, pulling it up to rest on her breast. Do you want me to? Slowly, he nodded again. She closed that last inch between them, her lips pressing against his. Her lips were so soft, she smelled so good. I've never done anything before with a girl, he admitted. I figured, she smiled at him. If he didn't jump at her advances, there was no way anyone else got close. Just let me take the lead, I'll take care of you. She unzipped his jacket, and he followed her lead in taking it off, followed by his shirt to reveal his bare chest. She was glad to see no chest hair on his chiseled form. Ninja bodies. Never a disappointment. She pulled her own purple top up and off, leaving her top half as bare as his. You like? He nodded shakily, he very much did. Her breasts were lovely. A delightful teardrop shape, her pink and pebbled. He wanted to taste them. Was that wrong? He didn't know if that was wrong. Before he could pluck up the courage to do anything, her mouth was on his again as she pushed him onto his back. Her lovely soft breasts pressing against his chest, her tongue seeking entrance into his mouth. His met hers as their kissing deepened. But then she began to slide down his body, kissing her way down his chest. As she passed his stomach, her hands grabbed hold of his pants. He raised himself to help her shimmy them down along with his boxers. Ino was pleasantly surprised as his things sprung up in front of her face. She let a pleased little smile sit on her face as she measured his size with her hand. Her infiltration classes had warned her about size. To not mention it if it's small, but if it's not small, make sure to praise them for it. You're bigger than I expected. She spoke, measuring it against her hand, a good couple inches longer wrist to fingertips. Pleasantly large. Thanks, Naruto spoke bashfully as she took his cock in her hand and gave it some testing strokes. Already a little of his pre-cum started leaking from the tip. He was eager. And it was his first time doing anything with a girl. The sight of Ino topless, her dainty hand wrapped around him, the wonder in her eyes, it was too much for his lack of experience. He lasted not long at all before a spurt of white fired out of his tip. Ah! Ino squealed in surprise. Hearing about how it all worked was much different than feeling the real thing spraying her face. The first shot a mighty thing shooting up to land in her hair, the next marking her forehead, then her cheek and the side of her nose. The fourth was left to dribble over the corner of her mouth, and the next few sprayed weakly on the tops of her breasts and his own thighs. It was warm, sticky. She hummed. Not unpleasant at all. Poor Naruto, he looked so embarrassed at finishing so quickly. She wiped at his seed with a finger before dipping it into her mouth and sucking it clean. She pretended to enjoy it, moaning just a little. She made a note to get him to take the supplement to make it taste better in future. What wonderful things the infiltration class taught her about. All of Naruto's other girls would owe her a debt of gratitude. Sorry, he offered, looking ashamed. It's your first time. I hear it's always like that for guys, she soothed his bruised ego. It wasn't true. There were some who could last their first time. But telling him that would do him no good. She got off the bed. He sat up, maybe to follow her, but that movement stopped dead as she shuffled out of her skirt and let it drop. But now, she spoke with a teasing lilt, I think I want to see what that famous Uzumaki stamina is made of. Gratitude for her not laughing at him. Eagerness at what would come next. Trepidation for whether he could get it up again. Awe at her beautiful body as she kneeled over him naked save for the mesh covering her elbows and knees. Her clean-shaven womanhood lowered down, the wetness of it sliding along his half-hard dick. Less than a minute later he was back to full mast. Now that's what I'm talking about, she smiled, looking like she was thoroughly enjoying herself, her face still caked in his first release, not that she seemed to care. Are you ready, Naruto? He nodded. She raised herself up, aimed him at her entrance, and sank down onto him. Her virgin pussy parted eagerly for him, her hymen broken during training long ago. It was a tight fit, something that drew pleasured moans from both of them. Him for the sucking wetness enveloping him. Her for the feeling of fullness from a real cock, the cock of a boy she had been chasing for years. She knew that this would be the start of something wonderful. Naruto, she moaned his name, feeling him twitch inside her, touch me. Hesitantly, his hands reached out for her, first to her taut tummy, his hands exploring her body with a look of wonder. Like every inch of skin he explored was a new revelation. But Ino was not in a patient mood. Taking his hands, she dragged them upward to fondle her breasts. The sound of approval she made told him just how okay it was for him to touch her there. With that permission given, he was much more eager to get a good feel. Squeezing the soft mounds, fingers dragging along her erect, running them between his fingers. It never even crossed his mind how much longer he was lasting the second time as Ino slowly bounced on his cock. Naruto, she breathed, you're so deep inside me. It feels so good. Ino. It's amazing. You're amazing. Her pace picked up, no longer feeling the need to savor the moment Ino started to genuinely fuck herself on her new boyfriend's cock. Lewd sounds of wet slaps, groans of pleasure, the creaking of bed springs. The heat, the sweat. The room stank of their sex, two teenagers experiencing their first true carnal delight. Naruto, I want you to come inside me, Ino begged. Are you sure? He asked. He knew how this worked. If it was a bad day. I'm sure. She panted, you have to rebuild your clan. I want to be the first. I want you to put a baby in me. He thought he should say no. They had both just graduated. Wasn't that too early? But his body knew what it wanted. And what it wanted was to flood her womb, to breed her, to fill her with the next generation of Uzumaki. Okay, he exclaimed, pulling her down chest to chest as his hips moved up to fuck her furiously from below. Thank you, Ino. I promise, I'll take responsibility. Naruto. She squealed, feeling something coming, the familiar build of an orgasm only more intense. Naruto, I'm. Ino. He slammed their hips together one last time with a wet squelch as he started emptying his once depleted balls, dumping his seed into the Yamanaka. Even for his second release in such a short time, it was like his body knew his urgency, his desire to breed this beautiful girl. His release felt barely diminished. It was still enough to fill her pussy to overflowing, his seed leaking from where they were joined. He felt her tighten around him, her pussy milking him for more and more, her teeth clamping down on his shoulder as she rode out her own orgasm. Ha ha ha! Naruto panted, Ino going limp atop him. That was intense. Naruto, Ino breathed, raising her head weakly to look him in the eye out of the corner of hers. If it happens, I'm glad. I'm glad it's you. I'm glad too, he smiled. I promise, I'll always protect our family. Our family. A new warmth blossomed in Ino's heart at the thought. Yeah. That sounded good. Her and Naruto. A family. Neither of the newly graduated genin had any suspicion of the irate redhead who had been watching the entire time. Today Kushina expected to have the house entirely to herself. Her son had already left, wanting to practice his ninjutsu. Namely his basic 3. While he could do that easily on their clan grounds, his mastery of his transformation was enough. He preferred to test it against real people. And if he had to leave the house for one, there was no need to hang around for the others. Plus, he simply liked being around people. Her boy was so outgoing. She was glad for that. She struggled a little with that sort of thing. Everywhere she went she saw threats. People with hidden knives ready to end her family once and for all. She had been perhaps overprotective of Naruto for a few years after the incident. It was only on realizing how miserable it made him keeping him locked up in a big empty house that she gave him room to breathe. He wanted to be out there, among the people like she used to. The sad truth was she couldn't bring herself to follow him. She trained her boy. Made him strong. Strong enough to protect himself. Because she knew she wouldn't be able to protect him anymore. Kakashi had promised to look out for him, just in case. Gods bless that boy. But Kushina, she knew she was withering away in this house. She hadn't fully let herself go. A lifetime of training would see her dead before she would do that. But she had become more than a homebody. She didn't like it outside the walls of the compound. For as much as Danzo was an old windbag, he wasn't wrong. She was effectively retired as a ninja. No longer fit for duty. But there was one duty she would never give up. The duty, the joy of a mother. The only thing she lived for now was to see her son safe and happy. She would do anything to protect his smile. It was for that reason and no other that she had picked up her sword again. Why she went to the dojo to practice the old kata of the Uzumaki sword style. It was something she had tried to teach Naruto, but he didn't seem to have an aptitude for the blade like she did when she was young. Her aptitude seemed to have held even after more than a decade of rust as she flowed through familiar movements, her body as naked as her blade as she went through the flowing circular movements of the style. Her nudity was not a personal preference but more an efficient choice, for as she felt satisfied with her movements she moved on to the second stage of the style. Calling upon her chakra, she molded it and shaped it to her water nature, let it swirl about her. Suddenly her dance of a single blade became a dance of 4, 1 of steel and 3 of water, all flowing in mesmerizing patterns about her, soaking her as they moved. Her control over them wasn't what it used to be. There was work to do. Yes. She would protect her son's happiness. And if he wanted a large family, women to love and protect as they revived the Uzumaki, then she would protect them. She would never let her son feel the pain of loss that she felt every day. HM? She grunted, her blade slowing, the 3 water blades that followed it splashing apart. She felt the alarm seals ping her senses, her fear rising for a split second before she realized it was just her son coming home early with a guest. She crept toward the entrance, staying out of sight to get a good look. Just in time to hear, "Show me to your room?" Blonde hair, blue eyes and an air of youthful confidence. And by how tightly she was clinging to Naruto there was only one girl this could be. So the Yamanaka girl finally decided to make her move with interesting timing. Feeling a little mischievous and perhaps colored by a touch of the overprotectiveness she had tried to curb, she followed the pair. It wasn't difficult. Out of practice she might have been, but getting caught out by fresh genin would still be a humiliating failure. They even made it easy for her, closing the bedroom door behind them. Just a subtle adjustment, and she could see them clearly. Oh, Naruto looked so embarrassed, it was so adorable. "I want to be with you. I have for a long time. Do you want to be with me too?" Kushina felt the outer seals ping her again, but she ignored it. She knew who that was. This was too important to let someone like that distract her. "Okay, son. This is your moment. She's all yours. Just go in for the kill." There's something I should probably tell you first." Oh, well, that was fair enough, Kushina supposed. Wanting to warn her wasn't a bad thing, though he was maybe being a little naive thinking the girl didn't already know. "I already know." "See? Now go for it. Kiss her. Make her melt. Go on, son. Make your mama proud." She watched him hesitantly nod. Then the girl kiss him. And then admit he had no experience? "Just let me take the lead, I'll take care of you." No. No. This was all wrong. Her boy is supposed to be a super manly man stud. If he's supposed to satisfy a bunch of women, he can't just roll over like this. They'll walk all over him. But no. Her baby didn't suddenly turn into a bitch tamer. He just lay there transfixed as that little blonde hussy stripped for him before giving him a handjob. She at least showed appreciation for his being fairly well endowed. Hell yeah, Uzumaki blood shines through. But then he was his father's son in another way. Finished in just over a minute. Minato was exactly the same, but he had been enjoying the talents of lovely and vivacious Kushina Uzumaki. This Ino girl was fine, Kushina supposed. Nice boobs, shapely, but took good care of her looks. But still. And so Kushina watched heartbroken as her boy became a man in the most disappointing way possible, a hand working between her legs. She was naked and watching two very attractive people have sex. It was something of an inevitability that it would get her hot and bothered. She watched as Ino rode her son, as she had to prompt him to touch her, had to guide his hands to be more aggressive. But her hope was not lost. In the final moments of their coupling, she saw her son suddenly take charge from beneath at the thought of breeding her. That was something. Maybe he wasn't a totally lost cause. On that gladdening realization, her thighs pressed inward around the fingers of her left hand while she bit down on her right to silence the moans of her climax. Suddenly clearer-headed, the nude redhead nodded to herself, resolved to follow through with what needed to be done. Her boy would be a man among men, making girls go weak at the knees from a look. She would make sure of it. But first, a little peeper needed to be chastened. She stepped away from the door and disappeared in a swirl of water, reappearing outside the compound in front of an unexpecting Hyuga. Eep! Hinata squealed, leaping back and tripping backwards at the sudden appearance of the naked Uzumaki. Hello Lady Uzumaki. She spoke nervously, awkwardly returning to her feet. Did you forget to put on clothes? Kushina put her hands on her hips. I get the feeling you've seen it all already, you know? The girl's lips curled upward a little at the familiar verbal tick, but blushed and looked away. Yes, she very much had seen it all before. Multiple times. I was just spying on my son, Kushina finished, folding her arms under her bust. Again. I am not spying, she denied. Only after saying so did she remember to turn off her Byakugan. I mean it's not for. I know what it's for. I was young once too, you know. Scared to confess to the boy you like, the Uzumaki matriarch commiserated, remembering happier, simpler times. But I think you just saw where hesitation got you. The pale-eyed girl pressed her fingertips together, eyes averted from the mother of the boy she just watched lose his virginity. I'm sure he and Ino will be very happy together. Who knows? I hope so, Kushina offered with a shrug. Question is, you lost out by not gathering your courage. You gonna keep watching from the sidelines? Getting no worthwhile response, the woman sighed. It's kinda depressing seeing a girl not willing to put herself out there, you know? But it's your choice. Run along, little Hyuga. She watched the girl leave. The timid Hyuga princess. Her boy might not be a true lady killer yet, but the girls from all walks of life seemed drawn to him anyway. It was a shame that one didn't show that much spine. Maybe once she grew up a bit. But for now, Kushina resolved to put the girls seeking her son's heart out of her mind. She had to focus on her boy. To help him and teach him like she always had. And she knew just what to do. The sharpest blade couldn't remove the smile from Naruto's face as he led his girlfriend? His lover? As he led Ino to the door. Ino's smile didn't quite match his in intensity, but it did have a satisfaction in it that showed how little problem she had with how the visit had gone. I should come over again, Ino spoke as she stood on the Uzumaki's doorstep, hands clasped in front of her in a practiced demure pose. That'd be great. Naruto instantly agreed, plainly eager for a repeat of this one. His fellow blonde gave him an amused look, dropping her false pose for one matching her natural temperament much more, hand on her cocked hip. I meant to meet your mom, doofus. Oh, right, hee. The Uzumaki laughed awkwardly, scratching his cheek. She startled him by leaning up to kiss the other, drawing a blush from him. I didn't say we couldn't do other things, she teased. But I should meet her, talk to her and stuff if I'm gonna move onto your clan grounds, right? And move? Of course, the girl nodded, resting a hand on her abdomen. After all, if you know, then I'll be part of your clan, right? I'll be your woman. She held back a secret smile at the wonder and desirous thoughts written plain on his face. Maybe in a few days? Yeah, that sounds yeah, Naruto answered, once again his thoughts failing to connect to each other. She darted in, leaving him with a kiss just shy of tongue. See you soon, Naruto, she bid him goodbye with a wink and a wave of her hips as she turned and strutted away. Yeah. His eyes followed her until she was fully out of sight. Only then did he manage to snap out of his daze, shutting the door before WOO. He cheered for himself, arms raised, pumping his fists. Yeah. The cheering became dancing, celebrating his graduation to manhood. Not that he was a great dancer, the whole thing looked like uncoordinated flailing that was almost in rhythm. Someone's in a good mood. The young man froze, one arm up, the other out, his legs bowed and hips cocked. Slowly his head turned to look behind him to see the smirking face of his mother, as she leaned on the hallway doorframe. Ah. I thought you were going to practice your ninjutsu today? Right. He grabbed onto the excuse to not be here and held on for dear life. I was just going to. I'll go now. Be home in time for dinner. He heard Kushina call after him as he fled his home. He didn't answer, making as much distance between him and his embarrassment as he could on his way to whatever hole he would crawl into to die from shame. It was good for training, he convinced himself over the next few hours. Trying to focus on performing ninjutsu, being as detail-focused as he needed to be for a worthwhile transformation, all while trying not to daydream about his time spent with Ino, or get flustered by what happened right after. By the evening, he returned home, hoping his mother wouldn't be in too teasing a mood. Thankfully not. She just waved him off to go get cleaned up before dinner. As they sat down for their meal, he swore he could see laughter dancing in her eyes, but she seemed satisfied by keeping her amusement to herself. At least until dinner was over and she pulled him into her bedroom without any explanation. Mom? He asked. What is it? Are we gonna train? Something like that, she answered evasively. You and I need to have a talk about your girlfriend. You know? What about? Wait, how do you know about that? Kushina sighed to herself. He was still young. He would get better at putting pieces together with experience. I was here the whole time, you know. And he thought his embarrassment was too much before. His jaw dropped. His throat clenched. You were. She dragged him into a hug, pulling his head into her bosom. Ah, my baby was so cute getting led around by the nose. I mean, it's not surprising. It was your first time and she was running through the basic seduction playbook. The what? Naruto asked, fighting her grip to look her in the eye. What are you talking about? Oh, honey, she sighed again. Letting him go, she moved around to his side to take his arm, pressing it lightly into her breast as she fluttered her eyelashes. Show me your room? His mouth hung open, his eyes going blank. His feet started moving, intending to do exactly what she asked until she flicked him on the forehead. Oh. See? She asked, letting him go again to embrace him from behind. It's a part of the infiltration course. Girls get taught how to turn boys into putty while boys learn to charm the panties off of girls. So she was tricking me? Kushina's heart clenched as she heard the pain in his voice. She squeezed him tighter. No, honey. It wasn't a trick. From everything you've said about her for years, she wouldn't just lose interest but decide to seduce you anyway. She just decided to be a little more aggressive, you know? Put the skills she learned to good use. I'd bet our next month's ramen supply that she was at no risk of you putting a baby in her, though. Oh. He was disappointed to hear that. Ino technically didn't lie about that. She said she wanted him to put a baby in her, not that he could. But at least she didn't lie about her feelings or her intentions. Wait. Didn't she say that during? Mom, how much did you see? Oh, all of it. All of it? He screeched, that was private, you know. There was no way I was going to miss my boy becoming a man, you know. She argued back, as if that was in any way a valid argument. Besides, you should be glad I did. Otherwise we never know that you need to learn how to properly please a woman. Wah! He shouted, affronted at the insult. I did just fine, you know. I mean he trailed off, his bashfulness at the subject overwhelming his outrage. She finished. She came, Naruto, Kushina corrected. And that you couldn't bring yourself to say it is part of the problem. But more importantly, she made herself come. What did you do to make that happen? I mean I touched her a bunch. When she told you to, Kushina nodded, with her guiding your hands. It still counts. Sweetie, it's okay. She assured him, putting her hands on his shoulders and kissing his forehead on the mark where she flicked him earlier. It was your first time. It was sweet that you were so considerate of her. But I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Well, it wasn't really a secret, but it was something some men had trouble understanding, especially the overly considerate ones like her boy. You can be as sweet and loving as you want. Most people enjoy a little romance, men and women. But when you get into the bedroom and you both know what you're about to do, it's more than okay to be aggressive about it, you know? A lot of girls like it when the man takes charge in the bedroom. Not all of them, and the ones that don't will let you know pretty quick. In fact, that's something to keep in mind. If she doesn't like something, she'll let you know. We're not made of glass, you know. Naruto nodded along. It made some sense to him, and he trusted his mother's advice implicitly. Was it like that for you and Dad? Kushina giggled. No, I rode your father like a prize stallion while he held on for dear life. It was the one unfortunate thing about their marriage, but she loved him dearly regardless. It wasn't like she minded being the one on top even if she would have preferred her man to ravage her, just taking what he wanted from her body. Some heat and a lewd smile rose to her face at the thought. Oh, her son uttered with wide eyes. His feet shifted, his legs spread a little more, dearly wishing to adjust himself but not wanting to draw attention to how appealing an image that put in his mind. His father was just an image on a mountainside to him, so all he could imagine was his mother, naked and sweating as her body rode a faceless blonde man. Her face a spectacle of pure ecstasy. Before he even realized, the faceless man wore his own face, and suddenly the Kushina in his mind was moaning his name. His stance widened even more, failing to notice violet eyes flicking downwards for an instant at the movement. But what if I do it wrong? And that's why we're here, she answered cheerfully, ruffling his hair. Sex is made better with skill and experience just like anything else. So if you're going to be the kind of lover who can make a woman thank the gods for letting you inside her, all you need to do is train. Okay, but how do I do that? Naruto's question quickly aborted as his mother threw off her top, her braless breasts hanging free. That's flattering, but you've seen them before, you know? She giggled at his reaction, felt them too. I know you understand the wonders of a woman's body better now, but if your brain keeps locking up like that, we'll never make any progress. Progress? I know you learn best by doing, she explained. He was sort of like a combination of her and Naruto that way. Learn by doing, but also a terrifyingly fast learner, so we're going to practice. She knew it wouldn't take much to get him into shape for the next girl he brought to his bed. It was just a matter of getting him more used to a woman's body and what it took to bring them pleasure. We're going to? Naruto asked, feeling like a long-held secret dream of his was about to come true. A dream that saw him awaken to messy bedding on many occasions. His mouth went dry as his eyes wandered over her exposed skin, his mind running wild at what she seemed to be giving him permission to do. Oh. Kushina laughed lightly, realizing where his mind went. We're not going to go that far, she clarified. You're just going to do a little exploring, that's all. Seeing what it takes to please a woman. She shimmied her long skirt down over her hips to let it pull around her feet, her simple panties following right after. Ready? I'm all yours. I'm all yours. The words echoed in his brain, his dry mouth suddenly salivating. Yes. He'd always wanted to, always felt a secret shame for wanting to, even if his mother clearly understood. But now she was letting him. Hesitantly, he took a step towards her. Separated by barely inches, his hands came up, just below her breasts, hesitating for just a moment longer before cupping them softly. Kushina hummed lowly, looking into his eyes. What do you think I'm thinking, Naruto? He looked at her. Her expression, her body language. You're unhappy? She was frowning slightly, and she certainly didn't sound happy. Why do you think that is? I don't know, you know? He answered, frustrated. Did I do something wrong already? Her breasts were right there, he wanted to hold them. Ino had pushed him to do that when he was with her. Why was that wrong? Wrong is subjective in sex, you know? His mother reminded him. It's all about figuring out what your partner likes, especially the first time. Plenty of women don't like it if you just rush to get a feel of the fun parts. So I shouldn't have done that? Maybe not lead with it, she corrected gently. All of me is right here. Explore. Find what your partner likes. There'll be plenty of time to fondle once you really get her going. Find what she likes. Right. That made sense. And it wasn't like he didn't want her to feel good. She was a woman he fantasized about, and a woman he dearly loved. He needed to put more effort in. He didn't pull his hands away, instead sliding his hands down over her belly, then out towards her waist, down to her hips. He watched her reactions all the while, hyper-focusing to see any change, any twitch, any shift of her posture. He saw her lips part as his fingers ran trails down her hips to her thighs. That looked like a good reaction. Naruto, she spoke again, quieter, a little breath of a sigh in it. Do you know how to kiss? I kissed Ino. I saw, she reminded him with a soft smile, but not like that. Let me show you how lovers kiss. She leaned up to press her lips to his, her tongue snaking out to seek entrance. His eyes widened, lips parting. Suddenly he felt her tongue coyly wrestling with his. His clothes had become uncomfortably restrictive, he felt a strong need to remove them, that he was very much overdressed. He could no longer see her reactions as clearly, but he could feel her movements under his hands, hear the pleased sounds she made as his hands came up to cup her backside, then begin gently kneading the soft flesh. It seemed it was no longer too early to get a feel of the fun parts. Even so, he didn't want to linger there too long. His palms traveled upward, pressing firmly as they moved up to rest around her waist. She pulled away from the kiss, face flushed, breathing heavier, a strand of spit connecting them. "I knew you'd be a fast learner," she panted with a smile. "Whoa, Naruto!" she exclaimed as he quickly moved behind her, his arms still circling her. "I wanted to keep exploring," he explained as his hands roamed her front this time, "but I didn't want to stop holding you." Some heretofore unknown instinct called at him to kiss the pale skin of her neck, her lips no longer easily in reach. The redhead laughed, nervous, bemused, excited. That's a good line," she panted, her head tipping to give her son better access to her neck. "You should remember that one for one of your girls." He didn't answer her comment, too focused on his task. She had wanted him to learn, and as she predicted, he was learning quickly. She was getting excited, he was getting her excited. He wanted this to be real. He wanted this to be more. If he wanted that, he didn't need to just learn, he needed to succeed. His first lesson had to be his final exam, for which passing would make his dream come true. There was nothing that could motivate him more. He explored her front, remembering the spots she seemed to like before. They made her shiver in arousal now. His clothed erection pressed firmly into her backside as he held her close. A hint of his true intentions. She raised no complaint, pressing back against him. It wouldn't be overeager anymore, he told himself, hands coming up once again to squeeze and massage her wonderful breasts. "Oh, Naruto," she breathed. He was fairly certain she didn't even realize she had spoken. His fingers pressed eagerly into her wonderfully soft and large mounds, tightening slightly over the prominent nubs capping them. Not harsh, but insistent, adjusting the pressure to get the best reaction, a quiet, pleased whimper. His left hand stayed where it was as his right trailed downwards once again, meandering their way down to the apex of her legs, trailing through a tuft of red hair to find her slickness. The place that had birthed him. It was wet. She was wet. He had gotten her wet. Which was perhaps why it was so frustrating when, right as he was starting to explore her feminine folds, she started to pull away. Wow! She gasped. "That's pretty good progress for a first lesson, you know. But I think..." No! It couldn't end here. His left hand came away from her breast, a movement she thought was him letting up. Instead, she was surprised as the hand that had been toying with her womanhood instead moved to hold her in place. A rustle of fabric, and then both hands were pulling her towards him again. "Naruto." Her question died a quick death as she felt something new. A hardness between her thighs. Her pupils dilated as she realized what her son had just done. "Ha ha ha." She laughed nervously. Well done. Spontaneity is good. But I think it's time we HNN." She whimpered as she felt that rigid shaft rub against her nether lips. Her protest stopped. She did nothing to resist as his cock slid back and forth between her thighs, as he continued to fondle her breasts, to find her weak spots. That so little was needed to stop her protests was all the confirmation Naruto needed. He wasn't alone in his desires, even if he was a little more honest with himself about them. With a gentle hand, he pushed at her back, holding her by the hip as he bent her forward over the bed. "And Naruto?" She looked back at him, concern, and something else in her eyes. "I love you, Mom." His hips pulled back, and then thrust forward again. "Hahan!" Kushina moaned as a cock filled her for the first time in 14 years. Not just any cock, her own son's. He wasn't that much bigger than his father, but after going so long without, it felt almost like losing her virginity all over again. "And then, Naruto, we shouldn't, and." She groaned, her hands on the bed to hold herself up, doing nothing at all to stop her son from eagerly fucking her. Her pendulous tits swinging with the jostling force of his thrusts into her soaked and clenching pussy. "But you wanted me to, didn't you?" he asked, knowing the answer. Watching her large tits bounce with each thrust was a temptation to get another good feel of them, but there was nothing in the world that could pry his hands from her hips. Their grip allowing him to pound her cunt with every bit of force he could muster. This whole teaching thing. It was an excuse. There were all kinds of ways you could have done that using ninjutsu that wouldn't have involved trying to please you, starting from making a water clone for me to practice on. Or even just tell me to practice on Ino. She wouldn't have minded. That's. It wasn't true, she tried to tell herself even as he continued to make her gasp and kneel. That she would try to set up a situation where she could. But no. As she felt a familiar building pressure, as it tightened and tightened, Naruto's cock continuing to hammer and core out her cunt, and as that pressure finally released. "Ah hun!" She groaned in reluctant climax, her arms shaking, her legs giving out to the point only her son holding her up kept her standing. It was true. She understood in that moment of ecstasy-induced clarity. She had wanted this. For a long time, she had wanted this. After losing her husband, losing her clan, she had felt so alone, like she couldn't trust anyone. There was only one person in the world who could mean the world to her. And as she had realized that her son had become a man, feelings she had denied herself began to resurface. And unable to imagine anyone else with whom to indulge those feelings, they had become dedicated to her boy. Her Naruto. Where at one point nudity hadn't been a concern for either of them, she had started to actively initiate times for them to be naked together. They bathed together more often than not, something that had not always been the case. She secretly relished in the moments when a simple press of her breasts against his back would get him hard. She encouraged him to finish himself off, all while giving him a show, making sure when he did, he would think of her. And then Ino Yamanaka came along. A girl who knew what she wanted and did what she had to for the sake of getting it. Kushina was perhaps jealous of that. Of it being so easy for the girl. In that moment, as she masturbated to the sight of her son balls deep in that little Yamanaka slut, it may not have been a conscious decision, but she knew what she needed to do. Though her son didn't know it, there had been another opportunity for him to get in some practice. All it would have taken was inviting the shy little Hyuga into the house. She would have done anything Naruto had asked, up to and including giving up her virginity. Instead, Kushina had brought her son into her bedroom and told him to feel her up, to pleasure her. And he was doing exactly what she wanted. Her protests were done. All she could voice now were moans, pleas to go faster, harder. Her arms fully gave out, her head fully down on her bed. Her back arched as her son continued to slam her cunt. Even now he was taking her advice, fucking her like a real man just like she had said, just like Minato never would. Mom! I love you so much! Her son shouted, his pace picking up as his balls slapped against her clit. I love you too, she squealed. I promise, he grunted, feeling a familiar churning, a pressure, a need. I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy. He swore, you won't ever have to feel alone again. Naruto! Kushina squealed, the heartfelt promise touching her heart. She felt another pressure building. Again, she questioned silently with wide, teary eyes. Mom! Naruto drove himself as deep into her as he could, his head pressing against the entrance to her womb at his release. A dream come true. His balls gave all they had for the purpose of pumping every drop of potent cum directly into his mother's womb. While on her end, Kushina's pussy squeezed and milked his shaft, coaxing as much of that precious white fluid out as it could. Aha! Kushina took jerky, gasping breaths as she felt the heat of her son's cum bloom inside her womb, trickling back out to leak from her flushed pussy lips. Oh! She yelped as she felt her son pick her up by her thighs, his cock still lodged deep inside her even as it began to soften. He carried her 2 steps before climbing onto the bed. Spooning her. Oh, she sighed, putting her hands over his where they rested on her belly. Naruto, we should probably. There's nothing to talk about, he preempted her stubbornly. This is what I want. What we both want. You're one of my women now, so says your clan head. Kushina smiled, if only because she could hear the smile in his words. Then I guess I'll just have to learn to live with it, Lord Naruto. She giggled as she felt him twitch inside her. You like that? It's kind of embarrassing, you know, he murmured, not actually denying it. Mom? He spoke, more hesitantly, I'm supposed to choose a wife. Honey, that's not a good idea, you know. Why not? He tried not to sound petulant. He was a man now. There was no room for that kind of attitude. So instead it was a serious question, trying to understand. Kushina sighed. What this is, her fingers trailed over his appreciatively, it's not really normal, even by clan standards. Having the pick of the village but choosing me as your wife almost right away? It says some things, you know? Some not good things. It would make it more difficult to bring more girls in. Plus, I'd be happy for you to find a wife who is just your wife. Just someone you can love as a woman and not also as a mother, you know? Naruto didn't know. He didn't know if he could love someone else the way he loved her. But she would be disappointed if he said that. So I should get to know more girls than before I choose? Her sad smile was hidden from his view. He didn't seem to get it yet, but he would one day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She felt him nod into her hair, before he pulled her tighter against him. His softened cock slipped out of her, the trickle of their mixed fluids running a little thicker onto her thigh. She would wake up sticky in the morning. She didn't really care. They would bathe together tomorrow anyway. And wouldn't that just be so much more fun from now on? Oh Naruto! Kushina squealed as she felt her son's tongue dive deep into her pussy, eagerly slurping on her juices. Just as she had predicted, exploring the more fun aspects of their newly expanded relationship didn't wait at all. She had happily woken him up by putting his cock between her lips, wanting to see just how quick she could make him come from just that. Without him awake to hold himself back, he was awoken by a sudden and powerful orgasm only a few minutes later. The fun had only been on hold for as long as it took to reach the washroom. He had been eager to return the favor. Her fingers dug deeply into his blonde hair as she pulled him deeper, encouraging him to explore her pussy with his wriggling tongue. "Keep going, baby, I'm so close," she pleaded. She had just gotten clean and now was already covered in a sheen of sweat. Her chest heaving as she panted, her muscles tightening as her climax built. Her lip clutched between her teeth. She came off of the stool only for her legs to fail her. She slipped, bringing her son down with her as she cried out her orgasm, humping her son's face as she rode it out on her knees. Ha! 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 Her pants turned into laughter as she rolled over to drop onto her ass. "I'm sorry, Naruto, I guess I got a little worked up, you know?" she giggled. Naruto, his face smeared in Kushina's love juices, didn't seem to mind in the slightest. "That's okay. I'm glad you liked it, you know." "Well, if you can perform like that, you'll have no problem with your girls," she assured him. "Still, let me make it up to you." "Mom, that was me making it up to you," he laughed. "Right. Reciprocation is fun." She grinned at him, laying over his legs so her head would be level with his stiff cock. "And I wouldn't want to waste this." For the second time that day, Kushina's lips wrapped around her son's cockhead, swirling her tongue around it with learned skill. It was gratifying to see how quickly he groaned, his head tipping back. "Do you like that, Naruto? Do you like it when mommy puts your cock in her mouth?" "It's amazing." She hummed, a pleasant thrum traveling down his shaft from the vibrations as she sucked it deeper. Her lips came off of the tip with a pop. "Mommy likes it too. She really likes her Naruto's nice, thick cock. It tastes so good." She trailed her tongue up the underside of his shaft, flicking back and forth across it. Reaching the top, she gave it a quick kiss, then dove down, gradually engulfing the entire shaft into the warm, wet suction of her mouth. "Oh gods, Mom!" Naruto cried out. He was amazed at how good she was at this. His dad had been the luckiest man alive, and now, so was he. The redhead happily continued to work him over, fondling his still heavy balls as her talented mouth and throat coaxed him closer and closer to his second climax of the day. He managed to hold on much better this time. Impressive when he was going against a skilled older woman. But inevitably she felt him tense up in that telling way. "Are you going to come, Naruto?" she asked as she jerked his cock with one hand and cupped his balls with the other. "Are you going to come for mommy?" "Mom, it's coming." "I know, baby." She moved up, leaning forward to wrap her soft tits around his cock, pumping up and down. "I want it. I want you to come for mommy. Give it to me. All over mommy's tits." "Gaha!" Naruto yelled as the softness of her cleavage rubbing against his aching cock brought him over the edge. "GHH." He grunted with each spurt delivered from his clenching balls right up and out of the tip of his cock. Oh, Kushina sighed as she felt the warmth of her son's release as he sprayed multiple streaks across her face, then a few more as she cupped her tits for him to bathe them too. The last dregs pooling warmly in her cleavage. "It's always so much," she marveled, taking another taste with a giggle. "I guess we both need to get clean again, huh? Don't want to be all sticky when your girlfriend gets here." "Right." Naruto agreed immediately. "Can I wash you?" His mother sighed, knowing the two of them will end up spending quite a bit more time in the washroom this morning. "Okay." Ino smiled weakly as she waved goodbye to Naruto and his mother. It had seemed to be going so well at first. Naruto had been happy to see her. He hadn't been as awkward and clumsy as she had expected, like he gained some sort of newfound greater confidence since she had last seen him. He invited her in and then she met his mom. Lady Kushina was intimidating. From the moment they were introduced, Kushina had been not unwelcoming, but more stern. A vibe only reinforced when she had the three of them sit Saiza around the table like it was a legitimate marriage meeting. The blonde youngsters sitting across from each other with the redhead sitting to the side between them. Naruto had smiled and shrugged apologetically at her, so cute. But then Lady Kushina spoke and any semblance of ease Ino had with the situation died. His mother knew they'd had sex already. Ino retorted that this was the entire point of the new law, that Naruto could have sex with whomever for the sake of having children. It had been a trap. Kushina had been a clan head at age 15. Leading a teenager by the nose through a conversation was quite literally child's play for her. And so came the revelation that Kushina knew about the little white lie Ino had told. Naruto hadn't seemed angry about it. To tell the truth, either had Kushina. But it had been made more than clear that starting a relationship with lies, innocent or not, was no worthy foundation for a relationship. It had seemed like a good idea at the time, making herself look like she was entirely dedicated to him to the point she was already ready to give him children. She wanted to be his wife. For him to love her the way she loved him. But in the end, that snap decision had backfired terribly. Her position wasn't unsalvageable. She apologized profusely, and the smile had never fallen off his face as he instantly forgave her. He asked only they be honest with each other. It was as she proclaimed she would do exactly that she saw it. The thing that told her exactly how wrong-headed her plan had been from the very start. Kushina's hand in his as she gazed proudly at him. Her look having a little something more in it than the pride of a mother. Ino swallowed, shaking her head at the memory. She had never considered that might be the case. That Naruto and Kushina were like that. She knew some clans were okay with that sort of thing, bloodline clans of which the Uzumaki were technically one. But coming from a clan focused on specialized and protected jutsu that anyone could learn, her experiences never brought the possibility of a sexual relationship between mother and son to her mind. Naruto and Kushina, they had only had each other. It was almost romantic when thought of in that way. But whatever Ino felt about it, it didn't change what that relationship did to her plans. She had been found a liar. She had not been his first. Even if Naruto wouldn't marry his mother, even Ino could recognize what kind of problems that could cause with rebuilding the clan. Even if Ino was the only girl in the running for his marriage bed, the advantage she thought she had was only an illusion, and she had saddled herself with a disadvantage due to her dishonesty. She rubbed at her moistened eyes. She felt so stupid. She was going to get her man. She was going to be the next Lady Uzumaki. With a loving husband and a bunch of little blonde babies and... She sniffed, shaking off her despair. It wasn't over. No matter what, Naruto had accepted her. He wanted her. She would have his love no matter what. And so what if she wasn't first? So what if she maybe fibbed a little during their first time? Strong relationships were built on shared hardship. She wasn't out of the running at all. She just had to work extra hard to win his heart, that was all. Her ponytail whipped behind her as she walked with renewed purpose. She would be moving in with the Uzumaki next week. For now, she had other things she needed to do. Word had started to spread, not just among the clans but among the civilians. The new status of the Uzumaki. The opportunity. Girls would start swarming around him soon. Greedy, green-eyed sluts ready to spread their legs for an easy life, not caring one bit about Naruto as a person or caring about the duty of being a proper lover, a proper companion. And not just the shallow ones either. Hinata Ino dreaded the day the more gifted girl would come out of her shell just enough for Naruto to notice her. The shy, reserved type was like catnip for men, especially when it came with a body like that. Not that Ino was jealous. Her own body was amazing. And more than a handful was a waste anyway. So her place as number one girl was in jeopardy. That would have to be a problem for the future. For now she had only one purpose. A much more immediate concern. If a bunch of harpies were about to descend on her man, Ino needed to give someone a foot in the door. Perhaps she was a greedy girl as well. She wanted her man and she wanted her friend to win at love the same way Ino would. Did that mean ensuring her rival would keep competing with her? That didn't matter. Before they were rivals they had been friends. It was about time they both remembered that. Sakura sat at her desk, studiously reading her medical texts. When she had first chosen her elective and taken the first step down the road toward her specialty, she hadn't known how much book work it would mean. And practical work. And work in general. Though she was lucky in a sense, she supposed. There were many students in her academy class who didn't quite find a niche the way she had. Sakura had a knack for theory, impeccable chakra control, and that was about it. She wasn't that special by most metrics. As far as class rankings were concerned, book smarts weren't a priority at all. They helped, make no mistake. But if that was all you had to your name, you were on a fast track to being a desk worker for the Intel division, or a paper pusher in the mission office. That is if you didn't flunk out entirely. It was in her second year at the academy when they were choosing electives that she escaped that fate. Seeing a list of different courses, each with requirements she didn't meet. Ninjutsu required good chakra capacity and hand seals. Taijutsu required a body capable of enduring it. Genjutsu required a good chakra capacity, good chakra control, and a flexible imagination. Sealing required perfect calligraphy. Each one she couldn't take brought her closer and closer to the bottom option, administration. No requirements. The choice of the hopeless. But there it was, her saving grace. Medicine required good grades and excellent chakra control. It was only on starting the course did she find out she didn't just have excellent chakra control, she had near-perfect chakra control. Which with diligent practice became perfect by the time she graduated. It was a claim to excellence. For so long she had been afraid she would fall behind like most of the other non-clan ninja. Be written off as ordinary. Resigned to a life of guard duty postings, running messages and other tasks given to ninja no one would ever remember. It was the last thing she wanted. For her goals she needed to be exceptional, someone worthy. It was the only way he would. Some might consider her goal to be shallow. That if she wanted to be a great ninja, it should be because that was a worthy goal in itself. To be someone written into the history books. But she didn't care so much about that. And the people who would say such things, they simply didn't understand what the power of love could do. For hadn't the power of love already pushed her, inspired her to be what she was now? An apprentice medic Neen before she was even officially a genin, already working as a nurse in the hospital. He would realize one day, she knew he would. He would notice her as not just a friend but the woman he could spend the rest of his life with. Her love was already amazing, already someone people were watching. She had to get on his level somehow, show him she wasn't some floozy looking for a life on easy street. She was a ninja of love and love would conquer all. Sakura, honey. Your friend Ino is here to see you. Her mother's voice called up to her. Mum. Sakura yelled back, she's not my friend. She's my rival in love. Sakura. Her mother called up again, your rival in love Ino is here to see you. Herg. She sighed angrily as she rose to her feet and stomped her way. Honey, don't stamp your feet. Herg. She groaned again, though she did walk with a lighter step as she made her way over to the front door of the house. There she saw her rival in love, along with her mother who waited only long enough for Sakura to greet her guests before leaving them to it. What do you want, Ino Piggy? I just want to talk, Ino promised with a hopeful smile. She raised the box she was carrying for Sakura to see. I brought dessert? Call it a peace offering. Sakura's eyes narrowed. Okay, what gives? You haven't called me forehead yet, and that's weird. It's Anmitsu, Ino sang, waving the box back and forth. With dango toppings. Your favorite. You're not gonna tell me why you're trying to bribe me until I let you in, are you? To answer that question, Ino perched the dessert box on one arm, opened it with the other, and made a show of taking in the delightfully sweet aroma. Smells good. Would be terrible to leave it to waste. Arg. Fine. Just come in already. Sakura grumped. She had no idea what the other girl's game was, but it was best to just let her get it out of her system, to then hopefully get out of her hair. Thanks. Ino chirped as she stepped inside and took off her shoes, sorry for intruding. The pinkette led the girl who had at one time been her first friend through the house and back to her room, retaking her seat at her desk. Bookmarking her page, she pushed the medical text aside, making a gimme motion with her other hand. Ino, suspiciously cheerful, handed her the dessert before taking her own, sitting on the bed for a lack of other options. Sakura could admit the dessert Ino brought was good, but she had known that from the label on the box. Amemino were amazing for desserts. One of her favorite foods from one of her favorite shops. Either Ino had done something terrible, or she wanted something big. Maybe both. Well? She asked. What do you want? I can't just come by with one of your favorite foods and... No. Try to rekindle our friendship, the Yamanaka finished lamely. Yeah, I get why you wouldn't believe that, she admitted as she looked away, only to lock eyes again. It's true though. I don't want to just be rivals anymore. I miss being your friend. I don't care. Sakura fumed. I'm not going to lose. I'm gonna show Naruto that I'm the best wife he could ever ask for, and then Naruto and I had sex. Sakura had no idea such plain-spoken words could cause her whole world to come down around her. The fire of her building speech guttered out instantly. All she could manage in response to such crushing news was a whispered, "What?" Once again Ino looked away. It was a couple of days ago. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I'm moving on to their clan grounds next week. Perplexingly for Sakura, her rival, the victor in their battle for Naruto's heart stood and smiled at her. But don't you see? This is great. Now that I have an in, you can. You bitch, hissed words a precursor to sudden action as Sakura, eyes wet with tears of anger and despair, lunged at her former friend, knocking the blonde back onto the bed. A fist wrapped around Ino's ponytail, yanking it hard as one genin pinned the other down. How dare you smile at me like that? Did you think it would be funny? Coming here, rubbing your victory in my face and pretending we can just be friends again? Victory, what are you? Ah! Ino squealed as her hair was yanked yet again, bouncing her head off the wall. She didn't try to fight Sakura off, only to stop the other girl from hurting her. You were in his bed. Sakura cried, tears dripping down onto the blonde's face. You. You get to be with him now, and I just have to watch from the sidelines as you live the life I wanted. You took everything from me. Ino looked up at the heartbroken girl, only more confused as to why she was so distraught. Until she realized. Oh gods, you don't know. I know everything I need to. No, you really don't. Gods, if I'd have known. I'm so sorry, Sakura, I honestly thought you would already know what's been going on. The medic Nin's face was splotchy from crying, her nose running. Even angry and miserable, she was aware enough to spitefully ask, going on with what? Just let me up and I'll explain, okay? And so the Yamanaka did exactly that. And while Sakura was still pissed, rightfully so in her opinion, that Ino did what she did and then came over to brag, her situation wasn't quite as dire as she had first assumed. Clan restoration? Ino nodded. Anyone who he gets pregnant is basically an Uzumaki from then on. Well, I mean not really, if you look at the text of the law it's a little closer to them becoming Uzumaki property, she clarified with a wince. But you know it's still Naruto, so he would never treat us like that, and his mom is nice if a little scary. It's just how it has to be phrased legally since he can still only officially marry once. Only one woman can officially marry into the Uzumaki while the rest would be, like mistresses, I guess. So you'd be his wife and I'd be a mistress, Sakura concluded glumly. Not necessarily, Ino hedged, fidgeting awkwardly as she admitted, me and Naruto had sex but I didn't really make the best impression as wife material. She shook away the recriminating thoughts. But the point is, maybe I marry him, maybe you do, maybe it's someone else. But no matter what, either of us has to lose anymore. She brought back to her original point. The reason she was so eager to talk to her rival, her former friend. We don't have to be rivals anymore. All you have to do is make your move and we can be friends again. No, not even friends, we'd be like sisters. Sisters? Ino's excitement at the idea was endearing, and maybe even a little infectious. Still, you made fun of me all the time for the thing you knew I was sensitive about. Kept calling me forehead and billboard brow. Sakura, Ino deadpanned, everyone knew you were sensitive about your forehead. We first met because people were picking on you for it. And you gave as good as you got, calling me a slut all the time even though I only lost my virginity a couple days ago. A wicked smirk crossed her face as an equally wicked thought crossed her mind. In fact, she purred, pulling her friend down and getting atop her. Jade green eyes widened. Ino, what are you? MMPH. Sakura's question was silenced as her friend's lips pressed against hers. Faces mere inches apart, Ino grinned down at the oh-so-innocent Pinkette. You remember when we used to practice kissing? Well, I picked up a few things you could learn. Make sure you're ready to rock Naruto's world. As she felt Ino's soft lips again, Sakura's first thought was to push her away. But her second was to question why she should. There were so many reasons not to. It felt nice, for one. Ino's lips were soft. The more aesthetically inclined girl made sure everything about herself was pleasing to the senses. The medic found herself giggling into the blonde's mouth. What is it? Ino pulled back just far enough to whisper, her breath hot on Sakura's skin. It's just, Sakura whispered back, this feels kind of nostalgic, doesn't it? Like their constant arguments over the past few years were just pushed aside, like they could go right back to where they left off. HMHM. Ino giggled right back, the sound sending pleasant tingles through her friend's body. You're right. Maybe we should try something new. Grinning widely, she descended again, first with her lips, then her tongue slipped through to push and seek entrance between Sakura's lips. It dawned on Sakura that what they were doing, it went quite a bit beyond practice, but she enjoyed Ino's tongue teasing her own too much for her to care. It was a joyful dance, a friendship rekindled, and maybe a little something more than that besides. Sisterhood as Ino described? Maybe. Or maybe a deepening of their relationship in a different direction. However, feeling Ino's fingers dragging along the zip of her dress ignites a spark of worry. Ino, my parents are home. Then we'll have to be quiet, won't we? The blonde asked mischievously, dragging the zip all the way down after receiving only one weak protest. She pulled the garment apart, and off of her very close friend, trailing a finger down from Sakura's lips, past her neck then down the middle of her chest. You always had a problem with your body, didn't you? Felt inadequate? So what if I wanted a body like yours? Sakura pouted to the side, not liking the turn their fun was taking. Don't be like that. Ino soothed, turning the other girl's head back to face her. Your body is so cute and petite. Naruto will love it. I know I do. Why, you really think? Ah. The Pinkette squealed as Ino's finger continued its path down, finding and ghosting over her moistening folds. Ino, that's... Ah. We have to be quiet, remember? Ino grinned down at her, finger running circuits around the medic's puffy lower lips. What would your parents think if they came up here to investigate those cute noises you're making? Sakura whimpered, the danger of that very thing only heightening her arousal as Ino played with her womanhood. Things were escalating so quickly. And not just the situation, she felt something else already rising, a pressure coiling, straining. Ah! The squeal was quickly smothered by Ino's lips on hers, a squeal that turned into a long drawn-out moan as her hips jerked against Ino's fingers. You're quick, Ino commented saucily, grinning down at the panting and sweaty girl beneath her. Is that normal or just because we're being so naughty? The already flushed skin of her friend glowed brighter as she looked away embarrassed. I think I want to experiment. That was all she said before she turned around, presenting Sakura her backside as she pulled up her skirt and slid her panties aside. Ino, what are you doing? A question became an overstimulated whine as Sakura felt the divine sensation of Ino's tongue delving into her nethers. But at the same moment Ino's own slick labia pressed down on the green-eyed girl's face. It's no fair if I do all the work and you have all the fun, Sakura, Ino pulled away just long enough to say before she returned to dining on her friend's virgin pussy, much to both of their delight. Sakura had no idea what she was supposed to do, but she had always prided herself on being a quick study. She wasn't unfamiliar with the equipment, after all. Wrapping her arms around Ino's legs to secure herself, she dove into her friend's folds, at first just copying what Ino seemed to be doing to her at that moment, then getting more active in trying to figure out what the blonde liked. She would never be able to forget the tangy taste on her tongue, something she wouldn't mind getting more of in future. Especially if it came with Ino offering the same treatment, the blonde's talented tongue driving her to another peak. Her pleased squeal was muffled as she expressed her pleasure directly into Ino's core, the vibrations enough to push her closer to her own peak. A quick probe of Ino's button with her tongue and she was given a similar experience, along with an extra splash of that tangy fluid on her tongue. As she continued to lazily lap at her friend's pussy, both of them recovering from their near-synchronized climax, she decided. She could get used to this. She wanted to get used to this. With that thought in mind, Sakura was the first to become aggressive again, much to Ino's enjoyment. Her studies went forgotten for some time longer as the two friends got properly reacquainted, at the same time learning more about each other than they ever expected to know. Once upon a time, team assignments for Jonin squad leaders of new genin cells could be done in the office of the Hokage. That was in a time when it was expected for a significant number of their academy graduates to be less than stellar. When a majority would end up as at best standard chunin, utterly unremarkable. When a not insignificant number wouldn't quite qualify for field missions, ending up in non-combat roles almost immediately after graduation. It had been an initiative of the 5th Hokage to make a change to this particular norm. With a piece that seemed quite firm for the time being, he had worked to overhaul the academy system. The hope was it would result in a higher standard of ninja coming out of the academy, each graduating class armed with worthwhile skills for their future assignment. If a student were found to have no particular aptitude for anything, they were discovered early and given training for their inevitable role as a desk ninja. But even they would have passable combat skills to their names. The result was fewer graduates for certain. But it also meant every new genin was capable in skill, though not experience. And so, team assignments became a much more involved process. Gone were the days new graduates would be assigned to a team and not expected to pass muster. Every team would be viable. And so every assignment needed to be chosen with care. That wasn't to say relative skill levels weren't taken into account. Even as Orochimaru stood at the front of the room leading the discussions, it was not surprising to any of the jonin present that a certain few among them weren't even mentioned with regard to the graduates from the lower or middle of the pack. Elites would be expected to train elites, after all. We're moving along. Team 7. An energy built in the room as the words left the Hokage's mouth. Every ninja present figuratively leaning forward in anticipation of who would take over the team that had in the past been the designation of their most famous and capable ninja. It wasn't planned that way, just a coincidence, but coincidences like that can sometimes lead people to encouraging them without thinking. Whoever got Team 7 would be important. Wary eyes flicked to the 3 elites in the room wondering who would get the pick. Actually, let's do Team 8 first. It'll be easier. And suddenly all of the pressure from the anticipation burst into disappointment as quite a few of their most high-ranking ninja groaned aloud. Jonin Yahi, Orochimaru spoke to their genjutsu mistress. Debatably the best at her craft. I assume you would still prefer to have Hinata Hyuga on your squad? Yes, Lord Hokage. Wonderful. Then I believe her, Kiba Inuzuka and Shino Abirame would make for an ideal tracking and capture team, wouldn't you say? She took a moment to think it over. I see no immediate issue with that, sir. It was mildly disappointing to not have anyone on her squad who she could tutor in the art of genjutsu, but there were few enough ninja with an aptitude or interest in the art nowadays that she couldn't reasonably expect such a thing. Excellent, teach them well. And so one of the elites was out of the running. The anticipatory charge began to rise once again. Who would it be? Which of their best ninja would get the prized assignment? Team 10. Oh, come on! Orochimaru gave the strangely loud ninja a confused but reproachful look before getting back to the business at hand. Enko. Sensei. The purple-haired jonin and former apprentice to Orochimaru stood straighter. Ino Yamanaka, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Uzumaki. What? Kakashi demanded. What? Enko asked flatly. What? Orochimaru accidentally echoed them both. I mean, what's wrong with that? Kakashi answered first, less than pleased with who he knew wasn't on his team. I was expecting to have Lord Fourth's son on my team, sir. Sensei, are you just trying to push your pet project along? I have no idea what you mean. Kakuku the Snake Sannin tried to plead innocence to the accusation, unable to suppress his sinister chuckle. What we expected was for Asuma Sarutobi to return to Konoha and form the next generation of Ino Shikacho. He has chosen not to do so, instead staying on as one of the Fire Lord's bodyguards. The man hadn't adjusted well to Konoha without his father, as clan head of the Sarutobi. He had elected to hand off his responsibilities to serve the Fire Lord's family, only returning briefly and occasionally to Konoha to spend time with friends and family. It was unfortunate, but he at least seemed happy with the life he had chosen. Kakashi wasn't convinced. Just because Asuma isn't here is no reason the Ino Shikacho can't be a team. Allow me to put it simply, Kakashi. Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha cannot be on the same team. The Hokage's pronouncement struck a harsh note in the room. They had all known the brother of the Uchiha clan head was being assigned during this meeting, but what sort of team he would be assigned to had been uncertain. He had performed well at the academy. Exceptionally, in fact. But with his clan's history, putting him on an elite team. But Kakashi wasn't willing to deny the facts. You're giving me Sasuke Uchiha? Orochimaru nodded. Team 7 under Kakashi Hatake will be Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Sasuke Uchiha. Don't look so surprised, he added, reading Kakashi's expression. Given your history, out of all of the jonin in this room you're the most likely to treat him fairly. Kakashi's response came with a flat stare. His father killed my sensei and you still think that's true? The Hokage glanced significantly toward the rest of the gathered jonin for a moment, many of whom were not so quietly grumbling about an Uchiha being on the most notorious team. He then returned his gaze to the copy ninja. Yes. And while it hurt to admit it, Kakashi nodded. That's fair. And that leaves us with 2 pairs to fill out the teams. Given their relative familiarity with each other, it was only reasonable to pair them as we have. Hold on, Kurinai suddenly interrupted. Lord Hokage, if the Ino Shikacho won't be a team, couldn't we have just put one on each of our teams? Well. Enko frowned heavily at her sensei. So I was right. You are just trying to push the Uzumaki onto a team of 3 women. Orochimaru thought desperately to himself, having been caught, his plans revealed. What would Sarutobi-sensei do in this situation? And with that, he had an answer. This was the perfect time for an inspiring speech. My fellow ninja, when times are hard, we must persevere. We must show the world our will of fire. I remember Sarutobi-sensei once said. The crowd of elite ninja groaned as one. Oh gods, why does he always do this? He's so bad at it. These speeches don't even make sense. This has nothing to do with what we were talking about. And that is why can I have no grip. That lesson always stuck with me and now I hope you can all derive something from it, and let it inspire you all to become better ninja. Orochimaru finished his impromptu speech with a satisfied smile. There. Now we're moving on. Team 11. You know, I can't help but feel kinda sad, Naruto said unprovoked as he walked with Ino to their old classroom in the academy. Knowing this is the last time we'll have to be here. Really? Ino asked, not following him on that at all. I'll be glad to never come back. So many boring lectures. I can't wait to get out and be a ninja. Well, yeah, obviously. Naruto agreed with a grin. But I mean there were good times too, you know? I guess it's just weird knowing how different things will be now. Well, Ino said as she threaded her fingers through his to take his hand, change can be a pretty good thing, I think. She smiled at him as she enjoyed the warmth of his hand in hers. Don't you? Naruto couldn't help his goofy expression as he laughed awkwardly but happily, finding comfort and support in the contact. Contact that ended as their classroom door opened and they entered. Even so, a room full of ninja, trained to stay aware of their surroundings, more than a few of them noticed how much closer the two were as compared to a week prior. And how they separated with a look to make sure the other was still there. And in particular, Hyuga eyes saw it all. Hinata was happy for them. She was. Even if she had to tell herself that over and over again, she was. Naruto deserved a girl who would make him happy, and he looked happy. Unasked for, her mind provided her a memory of the two of them being very happy together. Of Ino being exactly where Hinata wished she could be. Doing exactly what Hinata wished she could do. She wanted to be held by him, to be loved by him. For him to feel the same way about her, as she felt about him. She wished. She wished. Because now that was all she could do. She had missed her moment. Missed years of moments, and now Ino was the one in his bed instead of her. And she was happy for them. She was. It's kinda depressing seeing a girl not willing to put herself out there, you know? Lady Uzumaki's words haunted her. It was an indictment of her inaction, one she had told herself so many times and yet hurt so much more to hear from the outside. That the reason she wasn't with the boy she liked was not because of him rejecting her, or liking someone else better, or any of the other things her mind warned and worried of. It was the fear of those things. It was her unwillingness to even try. And so there she sat. Alone. Watching his smile from a distance, the same as she always did. You gonna keep watching from the sidelines? That was exactly what she was doing, wasn't it? She was literally watching him from the side, staying away to protect her heart. The same thing, the same inaction that led to her heart breaking only days before. She remembered that night, when she went home and touched herself, cried as the realization hit that imagining him touching her was the closest she would ever get. When she slept and dreamt of him and Ino together. Of their wedding where she sat so far in the back, so far away from him. Ino gloating about her victory while calling her a coward. She never wanted to feel such regret ever again. It wasn't over. Nothing was set in stone. So Naruto was with Ino now. That was no reason for her to give up. This was her last chance. She had to make an impression on him, or he might never notice her. She had to. Had to. The fear, the nervousness crept up on her again. The fear that she wouldn't be good enough. She was never good enough. But she had to try. Kurinai-sensei never gave up on her, father never gave up on her, so she shouldn't give up on her either. That self-assurance took her out of her seat, down to the front of the classroom, and touching his sleeve. And Naruto, she stammered. Huh? He turned, smiled at her. That smile, she thought dreamily. Oh hey. It's Hinata, right? What's up? She blushed brightly. He remembered her name. What's up? Just as quickly as blood had rushed to her cheeks, it rushed away again as she realized she had no idea what she wanted to say, just that she wanted to say something. Well, she had. She had called him by name, gotten his attention. Now what? How are you today? The tone of the question was less asking a question and more asking whether that question was a good one. Weirdly sad about being done with the academy, he answered. Hinata was surprised. On a day like this he was sad? He was so deep and introspective. But otherwise I'm great. How about you? Are you excited about team assignments? Yes. Perfect. All she had to do was say yes, and that she hoped to be on his team. That was it. Just say she wanted to be on his team. That would show interest, right? Yes, I hope to be show interest. Like a confession on why you're. Huh? Naruto asked. Sorry, I didn't catch that. No. She could do this. She could. Just say the words. Say them. Aye. Are you okay? He asked, looking worried, raising his hand to feel her forehead. You're a little warm. Are you feeling sick? Hinata squeaked. This was too much. Too fast. Hinata! Naruto yelped as she dropped on the spot only to be caught in his arms. Oh no! Sakura. Can you help her? The blonde girl and pink-haired girl looked at each other knowingly before the latter stood and moved to check the fallen girl over. She's fine, Naruto. Are you sure? He asked, still worried. She just passed out of nowhere, you know. I'm sure, she answered patiently. Maybe just felt lightheaded all of a sudden. Seeing the honest concern in his eyes, she sighed. Look, I'll keep an eye on her if you want. The oblivious blonde sighed in relief. That would be great. You're the best, Sakura. And suddenly her hair and cheeks were the same color. Thanks. She took the dizzy and dopily smiling Hyuga and walked her up to the back of the classroom. As Hinata came around as she was being lowered into a seat, she immediately remembered what just happened and flushed brightly, her head falling into her hands. Well, she made an impression at least. Meanwhile, Naruto sat next to his girlfriend in the front row. Man, I hope she's really okay. It'd be terrible to get sick right as we get put on teams. The Yamanaka palmed her forehead. Naruto, she sighed in defeat. You're hopeless. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Ino threw her hands up in the air in frustration. How could he possibly be this dense? Ugh, she's gonna hate me for this, I just know it, she whispered. She likes you, you dope. She likes me? He asked. He did not whisper. His loud question followed soon after by the sound of 24 heads slamming into desks. The sound of those people unable to comprehend how he could be that oblivious, both to the girl's feelings and to protecting those feelings. Naruto's head whipped around to look the Hyuga's way, seeing her face glowing so brightly it could be seen through the hands hiding her face. Sakura patting her on the shoulder in a gesture of support. Further back in the classroom, Sasuke Uchiha watched the ridiculous display. Another girl trying to win the bastard's affection. Another in the pointless competition to revive the Uzumaki clan. The whole village bending over backwards to make the nearly extinct clan happy, all while treating the Uchiha like monsters. And all the while Itachi, the man who was supposed to be head of their clan, supposed to protect and look out for them, he told them to endure it all with a smile on his face. For years Sasuke had. He idolized his brother. When he was little, he wanted to be just like him. He was strong, proud, a great ninja. But over time, as he endured all of the scorn, the people who whispered traitor behind his back, that worship dulled to the point he had to ask his brother why. Why they should endure it when all the village offered them was hatred. They weren't wanted here, so why not just leave? That smile, that reassuring smile, it had slipped a little at the question. And for what felt like the first time, Sasuke had seen a little of the pain his brother felt every day. Itachi was the head of their clan, the son of the man who killed the fourth Hokage, just like Sasuke. Together, they bore the worst of the hatred. But even so, Itachi endured. And he explained, by turning around to show the symbol on his back. The Uchiha fan. Their clan insignia. In times past, it had been a mark of pride. A bold declaration of who they were, what they represented. But with their father's actions, their clan's attempted coup, it had mutated from a mark of pride to one of shame. And so Itachi had said that he would continue wearing it despite that. They were the Uchiha. Their father wore that mark when he disgraced it, Itachi would wear it until he purged that disgrace. It was a burden, a promise to himself that he would right their clan. And so Itachi had tried. He had bled for the leaf over and over, just like Shursui had. And just like Shursui had, when it came time to assess promotions, Itachi Uchiha was a prime candidate. A shoo-in for Jonin. And just as Shursui had, he received his promotion. To Special Jonin. The Uchiha were not respected. The Uchiha were not trusted. The Uchiha were not wanted. And for as much as Itachi talked about earning back those things, Sasuke was beginning to believe it was a doomed endeavor. Alright everyone, to your seats. Their teacher ordered as he came into the classroom. He blinked as he realized everyone was already seated. A pleasant surprise. Usually graduating classes were a little more rowdy than this. Good. I want to start by congratulating all of you again for completing your academy education and becoming full-fledged ninja of Konoha. But I want you all to remember, this is not the end of a journey, only the beginning of one. A journey much more perilous. You now have the responsibility to act in ways befitting a ninja. You are not children anymore. So as you go forward on your path, remember. Always respect your Jonin sensei, follow your orders, complete your missions and never stop learning. The teacher looked around the room, seeing he had everyone's attention before getting to reading out team assignments. There were cheers as friends were paired together, groans of disappointment as rivals were forced together, and accepting silence. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi with Jonin sensei Kakashi Hatake. The three boys barely offered more than a grunt of acknowledgement. Choji's casual snacking was the loudest of the three reactions. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka and Shino Abirame with Jonin sensei Kurina Yuhi. Our sensei is a lady? Kiba asked with a grin. Nix. Team 10 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka with Jonin sensei Anko M. Yeah! A woman cheered as she jump-kicked through the window, dropping onto her feet and planting her hands on her hips. Alright, where's my kids? Midarashi, ma'am, we have doors, the teacher complained. Also, I just got done telling them they're not kids anymore? First, doors are for suckers. In fact, all of you take that as your first lesson. A freebie from Anko-sensei. She began pointing at every student watching her with wide eyes. Doors. R. 4. Suckers. HM. Right, second. They are absolutely still kids. Congratulations on graduating, you still don't know shit. Listen to your Jonin sensei. Third. She bellowed only to realize he had only said 2 things. Where are my kids? The poor Chunin just wanted her to go away by this point. He rubbed at his forehead as he pointed, her, and him. Great. Okay, you 3 with me. Baffled, the 3 newly graduated genin followed the aggressive woman, their teacher offering them a good luck as they passed and leapt out of the window. Choji raised a hand. Are all of them gonna be like that? The teacher let out a beleaguered sigh. Most of them. Jonin. Alright, this seems like a good enough spot, Enko announced as she stopped on top of one of Konoha's taller downtown buildings. She turned around to see her 3 new genin right behind her, puffing a bit but still right behind her. And you kept up with me. Good job. She'd been pacing herself for their sake, but that they kept up was a good sign. Though in fairness, if they hadn't, then something had gone very wrong. The new academy curriculum was no joke. So, why are we here? Sakura asked. That is, Enko-sensei, she tacked on to be respectful. Enko smiled to herself at hearing her new title. Yes, she was a sensei now. A great sensei to promising young genin. MMMHMHMHMHM. The 3 teenagers watched her giggle to herself for an uncomfortable amount of time. So, the purple-haired woman exclaimed. We're here so that I can get to know all of you because I have no idea who any of you are. I've seen you a bunch of times in Yamanaka Flowers, Enko-sensei, Ino pointed out. Yeah? Name the person working the counter at your favorite bakery. Himiko, Ino answered without hesitation, Sakura nodding along in confirmation. Huh. Enko blinked at the answer. Well, that undermined the point I was gonna make. But good on you. For the information retention, since you never know what might be important, and for trying to catch me in a lie. You were lying? Naruto asked. Enko gave him a look of pity. Oh, kid, you're too trusting for your own good, aren't you? She registered Ino nodding in agreement in the back of her mind. Yes, I was lying. I was assigned as your Jonin sensei. You think I haven't read all of your files cover to cover? Oh, Naruto flushed in embarrassment. It was amusing for Enko seeing just how earnest he was. It was almost cute. And as soon as the word entered her mind, she grasped it in her hand and choked it into submission. No! Her sensei might be trying to push that rebuilding the Uzumaki crap too hard, but that didn't mean she had to give in to it. She shook the thought away. Still, even if I read your files, doesn't mean I know you. So, introduce yourselves. Well, you read our files, but we don't know anything about you, Enko-sensei, Sakura pointed out. Maybe you should go first. Show us how it's done. Their sensei shrugged. Sure. I'm Enko Mitarashi. I like snakes, my favorite food is dango, and my hobbies are none of your damn business. There you go. Your turn, Pinky. Pinky? Sakura huffed. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like sweet things and, her eyes glanced Naruto's way, my favorite food is Anmitsu, and well, I don't really have time for hobbies with work and studying. Enko catalogued that information as well. If the girl had that much on her plate already, it would be best to take some off for a while. Flower girl, you're next. My name is Ino Yamanaka. I like Naruto. As if to demonstrate, she cuddled into his arm. I dislike lazy people and my hobbies are shopping and ikebana. Both of them already, Enko groaned internally. This was going to be a nightmare. 3 hormonal and horny teenagers? Going on the road with them? Just kill her now and save her the headaches. Okay, now you blondie. Wait, she's blonde too, you know? Yeah, but she's flower girl. Keep up. Fine. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like Ino, Sakura and my mom. My favorite food is ramen. My hobbies are calligraphy and gardening. Calligraphy made sense what with his clan's claim to fame. Gardening was a surprise. But not as much as ramen? Your favorite food is ramen. Yep. Just ramen. Not like a specific kind of ramen. Don't you have a favorite, like pork or miso or Enko trailed off as she saw the slowly growing vacancy to the boy's eyes. FA favorite, how, but it's all ramen. How do I? How could I possibly? Okay. Enko's job was to teach these kids to be ninja, not help them through ramen-based existential crises. Alright. You 3 can have the day to yourselves. Tomorrow we meet up at Training Ground 5 at dawn. Dawn? Ino asked. Only for their sensei to have vanished in a swirl of leaves. Dawn it is. Pork works best with, but then with the right seasoning, and what about the broth? Ino just stared at him for a few seconds as Naruto mumbled incoherently about ramen. You know, my mom once told me a relationship is learning stuff about the other person that you never wanted to know. Yeah, Sakura agreed. My mom said something like that too. Soy is, but if I had to choose soy or miso, but basic salt ramen is. Do you think this is what they meant? Sakura asked. Maybe Ino hedged, not knowing whether she hoped for a yes or no. A small clearing in a section of the dense forest that surrounded Konoha. This was the meeting place for the newly formed Team 10 as they assembled as arranged in the dawning hour. Alright, baby ninja. It's time to give me a show of what you're all capable of. Hey, come on, we're not babies, you know. Naruto griped loudly to his new sensei. The girls on the team not so vocal or vehement about their distaste for the label, but clearly not liking it either. Pfft, you're not babies, but you're baby ninja, that's for sure, the purple-haired Jonin Anko Midarashi scoffed. Did you miss what I said to your class yesterday? You're not even babies, you're newborns. The academy was like a nurturing womb, giving you everything you need, protecting you, nurturing you, keeping you nice and snug and safe. Now you've graduated, born into the big mean world, and there's no childproofing out here. Just Mama Bear Anko trying to make sure you don't die until you're ready to spread your wings and fly on your own. Wait, so that academy was our mom, but Anko-sensei is also our mom? Sakura asked, confused at trying to follow the logic. And she's a bear but we're birds? That was a really mangled metaphor. Whatever. Anko huffed, on hand on her hip as she looked away embarrassed. The person she learned motivational speeches from wasn't exactly the best at them. The point is you learned a bunch of skills but you haven't learned how best to leverage them. That's something only experience will give you. My job is to give you that experience. Make sure you don't die while you get it. Got it? You're baby ninja and I'm your babysitter. And as your babysitter I think it's time we play a game so you don't get cranky. We're going to spar, each of you one-on-one against me so I know what I'm working with. And now she wants to punch babies, Ino observed. Are you guys as weirded out as I am? She can punch me as much as she wants. I'm not a baby. Naruto shouted, rushing forward. I'll take you on, Anko-sensei. I'll show you not to look down on Naruto Uzumaki, you know. Anko rolled her eyes as she weaved around what she could admit to be more than adequate genin-level taijutsu. A knife hand aimed at her solar plexus, a leg sweep, a twist at his waist to bring a fist around and up toward her chin. Each of passable speed and power but predictable and telegraphed execution to someone of Anko's level. For a student of the snake style, evading the attacks barely required effort. See, this is what I mean. Temper tantrum. As his uppercut left him overextended, her body moved in an uncanny manner, so continuous and flexible it was as though she didn't even have bones. The same moment Naruto realized she was no longer in front of him, she was already behind him with her own fingers driving into the back of his neck. So you get to go into timeout to calm down. Maybe you'll take it more seriously next time. The toes of her sandaled foot hooked under his paralyzed body before flinging him off out of the way. Okay, Pinky. Come on, let's see what you've got. Sakura glanced to her crush, having watched his sudden and swift annihilation and feeling a supreme lack of confidence in her own chances as a result. Even so, okay. She stepped forward with forced determination, making the seal of confrontation. Anko waited patiently for whatever opening move the Pinkette would make. Seconds passed before she realized what was happening. Pinky, this isn't the academy or a duel or tournament. If you make that seal it better be to prepare some sort of technique. Alright. The half seal became one then another seal and suddenly the genin side of the clearing was host to several more Sakuras. The ones Anko could clearly see as fake due to the well-known flaws of the basic clone technique. Though she didn't say anything while the clones rushed her in a distracting manner, obscuring her view of the group to make it harder to pick out the real one. Unfortunately, Pinky, my best friend is a genjutsu master. With a casual movement of her leg and a sweeping palm, Sakura was tripped and flipped sideways before landing on her back, and I'm no slouch. Clones on their own aren't going to do you much good. Good effort with the distraction though. At least you're thinking. Now come on, what else you got? Sadly, what else Sakura had was tragically little. She knew the basic jutsu the academy taught as part of the main course. Her taijutsu was mediocre and lacked the force made possible by a well-trained body. Her tool use was fine if poorly timed. She was at the level of combat aptitude to make Chunin in a few years, then eventually die on a mission accomplishing nothing of great importance. Utterly ordinary. Anko's body relaxed as a kunai sailed towards her. That's enough. With one finger she caught the kunai by the ring and began twirling it absently. Her student was breathing a little hard. Not much endurance either then. Let me ask you something, Pinky. Your file says you've got great potential as a mednin. You could spend your whole career focusing on that, and it'd be a great contribution to the village. Do you really want to do field work? The girl looked over to the only male on the team, as she had multiple times during the spar. Even after being punished for it, she kept doing it. But as she looked back at her teacher, her eyes were full of resolve. Yes. Anko grumbled to herself. Damn kids and their puppy love. Fine. You're not working at the hospital for the next 3 months. I'll clear it with your supervisor. Can't complain about having a dedicated medic on the squad, but I'm gonna make sure you can handle yourself in a real fight, got it? That resolved look in those green eyes faltered ever so slightly. Good that the girl knew she wouldn't be in for an easy time if she was that set on being in the field. Even better that even with that realization she squared her shoulders and nodded. I understand. I won't let you down, Anko-sensei. Get the feeling it's not me you're worried about letting down, the snake mistress murmured, her eyes looking to the two blondes. Flower girl, your turn. Ino didn't follow the order right away, staying right where she was with her boyfriend's head in her lap. It mattered not at all to her that her teacher's eyes narrowed, sending her a warning look. She stayed right where she was until Sakura was there to take over doting on the kid. You're going to pay for making me wait, you understand that? Anko asked as the blonde moved to stand across from her. If all you girls care about is kissing Blondie's boo-boos, you might as well quit now. I'm not gonna apologize for making sure someone I care about is okay, the girl snapped. Anko grinned. Well, at least she had some ferocity to her, even if it was badly misplaced. Ah, well, if you love him so huggy-muggy much, I'm sure the enemy ninja will gladly wait for you to nurse him back to health. Her grin fell as she pointed to Sakura checking the boy over with medical ninjutsu. Her? She's a medic. It's her job to look after the injured. The hell were you gonna do just sitting there? Whatever I had to. Ino snapped once again, throwing a brace of shuriken Anko's way. Her sensei didn't even bother to duck, just turned to the side to let the spinning blades miss her completely. The follow-up of the girl closing in for taijutsu didn't bother her much more than that. See, that answer sounds good, but it doesn't really mean anything, does it? Anko asked rhetorically as she swayed between striking hands. Good speed. Not much power. Better than Sakura, but that wasn't much of a contest. What you really meant was that you'd rather just sit there and comfort him as he recovers from minor injuries than do something useful. Well, I guess you did take the infiltration course, so I guess you're that type of girl, huh? Wide eyes, followed by gritted teeth and an angry flush. A strong reaction to the pressing of a particularly sore spot. But even so, the girl didn't let her strong emotions cloud her judgment. In fact, she worked with her anger, making it look like she wasn't thinking straight, backing off only to lunge forward with fist cocked. Were Anko paying less attention, she might have missed the hidden half-ram seal of the other hand, fallen for the feint. She turned right as the fist was about to connect, right as Ino disappeared to be replaced by some loose rocks that were nearby. In the rock's original location stood Ino, fingers and thumbs forming a circle pointed at her teacher. Her blue-green eyes widened as she realized her teacher hadn't fallen for it but was already in too deep to stop now. Ninja art, mind transfer jutsu. The trademark technique of the Yamanaka clan. The mind transfer was not a fast technique. Definitely not something to be used unless the user was certain the target would be hit. The spirit of the user had to travel to the target. If it missed, then the user's spirit would be left to wander until it found its own body, leaving the user vulnerable. And so in response, Anko did nothing. The spar was over. Ino would know well enough that she lost regardless. At least this way it wouldn't slow proceedings at all. Her body shuddered as the foreign presence of the teenager entered her and took control. So, what did you learn? Anko's outward expression matched Ino as she startled hearing her sensei so calm and unperturbed. I learned that you're a bitch. Ha! Yeah, I've been told. I meant from the spar though. Something like a sigh escaped the mind of the blonde. That I'm a baby ninja. Well, I didn't really mean that either, but glad it's getting through. I'm gonna be honest, you're not really cut out for combat missions yet either. Closer than Pinky, but still. Truth is, your clan jutsu and infiltration skills are a good combination. But infiltrators are in the most danger of any ninja. You get caught, you're probably done. So we need to get you stronger, so even if the worst happens, the worst doesn't happen, understand? Yeah, I get it. Good. Also, it looks like you can keep a level head, so you've got that going for you. For what it's worth, I took the infiltration course too. One of the few things I didn't want to learn from sensei. It was before the course got the stigma it has now, but still. Anyone who gives you shit for it, you tell them to blow it out their ass. Ino in Anko's body outwardly giggled. Maybe I won't say that. Pfft, be boring if you want. Now go back to your own body. My brain space got no tolerance for squatters. Ino heard, but didn't immediately comply. seeing that Naruto had been properly roused by Sakura and was looking around confused. "Hey Naruto!" she called out. "Hey, hold on, what are you?" "Huh? Anko-sensei?" Naruto murmured, still coming back to full awareness as he looked up at his teacher only to see an impish smile. Her hands going to the hem of her top and pulling it up to let her breasts bounce free into the cool breeze. Whoa! From groggy to alert all at the sight of a pair of shapely breasts and a set of sculpted abs. With force of will born of mortification, the little brat's mind was expelled from Anko's body, returning full control of her body to her as she flashed her student. She quickly corrected her outfit, turning to glare at the body of the blonde girl who probably wouldn't be in there for a while yet. Oh, she was going to pay for that. Damn it, whatever. Blondie, you're next. Yes, sensei. You're the best sensei. Thank you, sensei. He stopped to thank a blushing Sakura for her treatment before getting to his feet and stepping forward again. So got your head on straight this time? Anko asked, unimpressed by his last attempt. He grimaced, looking away for a second before bowing. Yes, sensei. Thank you for before. Oh? She uttered, watching him. Not often I get thanked for knocking guys on their ass. I messed up, he admitted. I guess I got kind of full of myself after how good things been going recently. I needed a wake-up call, you know. He settled into a stance, a more secure posture for fighting than the unsteady posture he came at her for the first time. But I'm awake now. Babies need their nap time, she grinned at him, baiting him yet again. She could see it still bothered him, but at least he didn't rise to it this time. You gonna come at me or? Her question was interrupted by his hand raised in a seal of confrontation. Or rather, what was actually a proper half-ram seal in preparation for substituting himself with the rocks Ino had used earlier, appearing right in Anko's face in an instant. Attaboy. The clang of steel as one kunai strikes another. Substitution was usually used as an escape or distraction technique. That Naruto used it purely to close in an attack, he really did take after his old man. No hesitation either. IDV had to kick your ass extra hard if you held back against a woman. My mom beat you to it, he responded, darting back a little after his first assault didn't surprise as much as he hoped. From out of a pouch he pulled several slips of paper, seals. Not being anything close to her speciality, Anko couldn't read them at a glance beyond them being similar to storage seals. The whole lot were flicked in her general direction and suddenly kunai were flying her way at extreme speeds. His hands flicked through hand seals rapidly. Wind style. Gale palm. Took the ninjutsu course, Anko remembered. Wind-natured. Well, this was getting a little more interesting. The girls were almost blank slates in terms of fighting style, so she could push them in whatever direction suited them. But Naruto came to her with a fighting style already. One he knew well and had plenty of tricks up his sleeves at the ready. If she wanted to help him grow, she would need to work within that established framework. Her limbs twisted and contorted out of their joints as she evaded the barrage of high-speed wind-assisted steel. Kinetic storage seals. She had heard of a few ninja using them. They weren't common as they were a little expensive. Mostly only used if the ninja employing them made them themselves. Most storage seals could eject their contents at a decent speed. She had heard of a genin who was fond of using that as a tactic, but it was mostly a cute trick. But kinetic seals, they ejected the weapon with the same force the item went in with. And Anko had a sneaking suspicion Naruto had stocked those seals with the same combination as he was using now. And with that cumulative increase in speed, the small weapons were actually a minor threat to her. Enough that she was forced to take her eyes off her opponent for an instant. He didn't close in again. Wise of him, since even if his hand-to-hand were better when he had a clear head, though that remained to be seen, she could still beat him in that arena with her eyes closed. No, instead she found herself surrounded by clones. A delaying tactic. He must have seen her deal with the medic's attempt, so, no. No, he was out cold then, so maybe not. With a mere glance around her she could see that the real one was not there. Oh, he was being cute. Above? She saw nothing. Below? Well, she could force him to emerge, but the purpose wasn't for her to win but for her to learn how her student fought. So instead she waited, tapping her foot impatiently while holding a snake hand seal. Sure enough, before long she felt her student's hand grasp her ankle. She smirked, seeing him smirking up at her, thinking he had the upper hand. She dropped to a squat before the blonde could pull her under, slapping her palm on the ground. Earth style, mud wave. She focused the technique not forwards but directly underneath her. The earth Naruto had been hiding and rolled, turning his grin into a worried grimace as it tossed him about, forcing him to partially emerge and let his sensei grab him. And that grab quickly shifted into a hold, the blonde's arms wrenched behind his back as she shoved him face down into the mud. Well, she grinned down at him, you're a cheeky little bastard, aren't you? I'll give you that much. For someone so gullible and guileless, you sure know your way around keeping your opponent guessing in a fight. How? His laughter was cut short as she pulled his arm into an even less comfortable position. Thanks. Maybe someday soon you'll graduate to toddler. Ah, come on. I did good, didn't I? The boy whined as she released his wrists and rolled back to let him get up. You did. For the skills and experience you have, you've got real potential. Closing the distance between them, she poked him between the eyes. But don't think just because you know to keep the opponent guessing means much. This is just your starting point. Got it? He frowned. Maybe she would even go so far as to call it a pout as he rubbed where she poked him. Yes, Anko-sensei. Alright, I think I know how we're gonna start. She spoke louder to get the attention of the girls. Today we'll dedicate to getting you into a training routine. Tomorrow we'll start taking missions in the mornings, and after that do your training until evening. Got it? Pinky, let's start with what you'll be doing. Days of training, days of missions that amounted to odd jobs around the village. It wasn't the romantic start to Team 10's ninja careers that they hoped for. Sakura in particular was not happy about her hectic hospital duties and bookwork being replaced with nothing but endurance, strength, and agility training. But they finally had a day off. Which meant it was finally time for Ino to move into the Uzumaki compound. She had been giddy all day. Her parents helped to gather and move her things, her mother getting a little weepy even though they wouldn't be all that far away. The two older Yamanaka hadn't been in a rush to leave their little girl to get settled into her new home. They had come up with excuse after excuse to stay just a little longer, to not let her go for just a little longer, but eventually the time came. Inoichi extracted a promise from the Uzumaki clan head to look after his little girl, something Naruto was quick to say he was already going to do. Not exactly the most customary response, but with how clearly Naruto meant what he said, it was beyond Inoichi to complain. With the withdrawing of the Yamanaka, Sakura soon arrived to help Ino organize her things and decorate her new room. The elder Uzumaki saw through such a fib with a roll of her eyes, her son easily taking it at face value. I appreciate all of the greenery you're bringing in, Ino, Kushina complimented, observing all of the flowering plants that dominated the front room, ready to be placed. It really brightens up this dreary old place. Thanks, I'm glad you like them, ma'am. Ino answered with an uncertain smile. She remembered the poor first impression she left on the lady of the house. I wanted something to, help me feel more at home. I hope that's all right? The redhead gave the girl a quick squeeze of a hug. It's more than all right, Han, and I think if we're gonna be living together you should call me Kushina, you know? Okay. A much more accepting reaction than she had expected. It looked like the older woman was serious about letting her start over with a clean slate. So let's get started, Sakura suggested enthusiastically. What goes where? Oh, these ones I think I want in my room, so we can get those out of the way first, Ino suggested. Sakura, can you help me with these? Sure, of course. Working together, the two girls transported the racks of flowers and plants down the hall into the room that would be Ino's, already furnished with the essentials. The room was chosen specifically for her, being the room that got the most sunlight in the house. One by one the plants were arranged along the window that spanned nearly an entire wall. So are you going to make your move? Ino asked in a quiet voice, not quite a whisper. Sakura looked around, checking the door just in case someone was listening in. I don't know, I'm really nervous. What if he says no? The blonde scoffed. He won't say no. He loves you. Yeah, as a friend. The pinkette corrected, I'm not on his level yet. Why would he want to be with someone like? Her friend turned enemy turned friend grabbed her by the shoulder, staring her down. You're cute, you're nice, you're dedicated, you love him. You can do this. Right, Sakura nodded slowly, uncertainly, before firming her resolve. Right. I can do this. I'm a ninja of love and love can achieve anything. Sure. Ino led the way back out of the room, Sakura following close behind her. Hey Naruto. That box of stuff needs to go in your room. Could you show Sakura where it is while I get to replanting some of this stuff outside? Sure? Naruto asked, more than agreed. I mean, I could take it. It's a bunch of girl stuff, I'd feel more comfortable if Sakura took it, his first lover pressed, fluttering her eyelashes. Please? The young man frowned slightly at what girl stuff might refer to. They had been intimate enough, it would be weird for her to be weird about seeing her underwear. Especially if she wanted it in his room. But he shrugged. Yeah, okay. It's this way, Sakura. Thanks, Naruto, the other girl said as she picked up the box, her heart hammering in her chest as she followed her crush to his room. Behind him, Naruto didn't see Ino encouraging her friend, fists clenched silently telling her to go for it. Here it is, Naruto announced, pulling the door open but not entering. I guess you can put the box anywhere, and Ino'll decide what she wants to do with that stuff later. Okay. She nodded, stepping inside and putting the box down. The rustle of clothes told her Naruto was already heading back to the main hall. No. Wait. She needed something to keep him here, to get him to join her in his room. Her eyes scanned for something to ask about, alighting on a set of framed ink paintings on one wall. Oh wow! She exclaimed, maybe a little louder than she needed to get his attention. Are these seals? Huh? Naruto asked, his head popping back around the doorframe to see what she was looking at. Oh yeah, he confirmed, joining her inside to stand next to her. Each one is a different sealing matrix. The 100th perfect one I drew of each of them. Mom frames them to celebrate when I master one. That's amazing, she breathed, tracing the image behind the glass with her finger. You made all of these? They're beautiful. Heh, thanks. He accepted the praise, rubbing his neck bashfully. There's rules to follow when making seals, but Mom always said seals are more art than anything else. I could teach you a little if you want. Ha! Sakura laughed aloud at the idea. Thanks, but my calligraphy wasn't good enough for seals at the academy, and it's only gotten worse from working at the hospital. Writing fast is more important than writing pretty there, you know? He sounded genuinely disappointed. Well, open offer if you ever change your mind, you know? Thanks. The conversation stalled. 1 second. 2. 3. Well, we better get back to Naruto, she exclaimed, not wanting him to leave, grabbing his hand. She hadn't said what she needed to yet. He looked down at his hand in hers and she realized what she had done. There was no going back now. She quickly closed the door behind them and took both of his hands in hers. There's something I really want to say, to tell you. I've wanted to for a long time. Sakura? Ninja of love. Ninja of love. Love can achieve anything. I love you. Well, of course. I love you too. Not like that, she shook her head, clarifying, not as a friend. I love you the way a woman loves a man. I want to be with you, Naruto. Oh, the boy uttered, stunned. Even with a little more experience with the fairer sex, he was still a naive teenage boy. I don't know if I feel the same way, you know? And he was as blunt and accidentally insensitive as ever. That's okay, she assured him, squeezing his hands. I know I didn't give you much warning, that I should have built up to this or something, but I love you. And with everything happening, I didn't want to miss my chance to tell you how I really feel. I want to be with you, to be with the man I love. Even if, she hesitated, looking away for a moment to gather her strength to say the next part, even if you never love me back, if we can be together, if you'll accept my love, I can be happy. Those words, more than anything else she had said, floored him. Even if he never felt the same about her, she would still want to be with him? His shoulders squared as he looked deep into her eyes to give his answer. That's crap. What? Sakura reared back as if slapped, her heart on the verge of breaking. And Naruto? You think I could do that to you? He demanded. You're amazing. One of the coolest people I know, you know? Yeah, maybe I don't feel that way now, but thinking I never would? And that I'd take advantage of you anyway? An amazing girl like you, give me half a chance and I'd fall in love with you 100 times over, you know? Her heart swelled, joy filling it to bursting. Naruto! Her jade green eyes brimmed with tears of relief. Here, let me prove it, he said more subdued, his hand escaping hers to rest on her neck, pulling her in for a kiss. A display of how he felt about her now, and a sign of what those feelings could be in the future. The girl melted as his other hand settled into the small of her back to pull her close, to press her against him. She felt disappointment as she felt his lips leave hers. We should get back to the others, he said, remembering what they were supposed to be doing today. Sakura shook her head. Ino knows why I'm here. She pushed me to do this. She did? Naruto felt a little disappointed that Ino had decided to manipulate him again, and that he had fallen for it again, though in this case he couldn't bring himself to be mad at her. Right outside of Naruto's bedroom, the girl herself was listening in with her ear pressed against the door. She wore a grin from ear to ear. She couldn't be happier that everything went so well. It was unfortunate that Sakura's self-esteem drove her to say something unnecessary, but Naruto, being Naruto, smoothed that over right away. And now, her grin turned lecherous as it was her turn to join the festivities as things got underway. As she heard the two inside beginning to disrobe, her hand reached for the frame of the door, looking forward to helping her man take her best friend's virginity. What do you think you're doing? The blonde's blood chilled in her veins as she heard the familiar voice, barely above a whisper in her ear. She hadn't even seen a shadow, had seen or heard no sign of the woman until Kushina was whispering to her. You wouldn't be planning to go in there, would you? Ino stammered quietly, fingers retreating from the door. No? Are you sure? Kushina asked. It would be pretty rude to barge in on someone else's first time with the man they love, you know? Oh no, definitely wasn't going to do that. Ino answered nervously, just admiring the craftsmanship of this door. It's a good door. She felt the woman's long hair shift as she nodded. And you aren't lying to me? The close proximity to a woman that maybe wasn't her biggest fan, the not quite threatening tone, Ino's nerve broke. Rather than triple down on her obvious lies, she let out a sound that sounded vaguely like meep. Kushina sighed in her ear. That's what I thought. Come with me. I'm going to show you what happens to naughty girls who try to force themselves into something that's not their business. Ino whimpered as she was pulled away from the door towards an unknown fate. Meanwhile, inside, Naruto was keeping himself busy by kissing every inch of Sakura's naked body from head to toe, and then back again. Her bashfulness as she undressed told him more than enough about how insecure she was about her petite frame. And words were cheap when he could show her how much he appreciated her slim, athletic beauty. From her slim neck down to the modest peaks of her breasts, down the trim tummy, around her hips to her thigh, then calves, then back up the other side. Every inch worshipped by his lips and tongue as he explored her form and drove her wild with expectation and need. She whined like a puppy when he skipped right past her womanhood on his way down. And when he came back up, please, she begged him, please touch me there. Huh? Naruto asked with a grin. Where do you mean, Sakura? You know, down there. Your legs again? He asked, feigning obliviousness. Okay. You do have great legs. You jerk. She whined with a furious blush as she spread her legs wider to show how her soaked womanhood was staining his sheets. My pea pussy. Oh, okay, he smiled up at her. All you had to do was ask. Jerk, she muttered under her breath as he started kissing along the inside of her thigh, gradually, teasingly making his way to her core. As his tongue finally met her fold, she couldn't hold herself back from grabbing hold of his head to hold him there. Yes. Oh, Naruto. Her hesitance died as she felt the man she loved tease her lower lips with his tongue, lapping up her juices hungrily. The agonizingly slow build to her first climax he had caused by so meticulously worshipping her suddenly crashed into her all at once. Fuck. It feels dash. Naruto. It seemed Ino had been right about her. She was very quick to orgasm when her partner wasn't determined to tease her into insanity. Her hips bucked against his face as she rode out the powerful waves of ecstasy washing over her body, all the while whispering, I love you, I love you, I love you. It felt amazing to finally be able to say it. And all while her new lover was proving his intent to feel the same way one day. As her mind blinked out for an instant, she imagined the joy of her future when he would finally say those same words to her, to mean them as she did. And Naruto, she breathed, her body covered in a thin sheen of sweat. I'm ready. Reaching down with shaky hands, she gently pulled her slim pussy lips apart a little. I'm sorry, I don't want to have children yet, and it's not a safe day, so. I understand, Naruto assured her as he rose, leaning over her to position himself at her entrance. Cupping her face, his thumb stroked her cheek gently, feeling awe at the unbridled, unrepentant love in her eyes as she stared up at him. That love in your eyes, I promise I'll be worthy of it. She smiled gently, fighting not to grimace at the pressure of his manhood starting to push inside her. You already are. Her encouragement only spurred him on, the pressure more insistent as it felt like every inch of him sank inside her at once. Ah. She was still so sensitive. This first penetration felt like an electric shock as she was thoroughly deflowered. Gods, you're so tight. Naruto groaned. So big. She moaned, writhing underneath him, fingers dancing along his back as she tried to tell her arms to hold him close, though they wouldn't quite listen to her. The feeling of being so thoroughly filled, like every part of her womanhood ached with pleasure at his touch. It was like her body didn't know what to do. But Naruto did. One hand landed on her shoulder, the other on her waist. He leaned down to capture her eagerly surrendering lips once again. Before he began to move, Sakura squealed into his mouth as the pleasurable ache of her pussy thrummed heavier and harder as she felt his cock spear in and out of her at a gentle but insistent pace. Each kiss of her womb enough to make her think twice about whether she was really so sure she wasn't ready for children. It would be so wonderful. To feel him inside her. To feel his child grow in her womb. The simple daydream as she imagined that entirely possible future filled her with joy. He could make her a mother right here and now. Were she still capable of words, she might have even said something regrettable. Instead, all she could manage as her lover wrung multiple orgasms out of her sensitive body were lustful pants, wails, and half-formed declarations of love. Naruto's pace quickened as he felt himself close to the edge. With a force of will, he pulled his cock out of his writhing pink-haired lover, stroking himself to completion over her sweat-soaked body. Streak after streak of hot, white cum-painted lines across her pale skin from her chin down to her tummy, the last dregs trickling down the joint of her left leg. In an entirely different room of the house. Ah. 7. Ino squealed as the soft flesh of her backside was struck once again. It was so humiliating being spanked by her boyfriend's mother. The second she had been dragged into what was clearly the woman's bedroom, the redhead had stripped off, pulled down Ino's shorts, and put her over her knee. Who does that? Not even her own parents had spanked her. Which was probably a good thing to the girl's mind. It would have made how arousing this was kind of weird. Kushina Uzumaki was a beautiful woman after all, and well, the spanking stung like a bitch, but it also felt kind of good in a weird way. She continued to count her own spankings aloud as Kushina gave her the last 3. She had been forced to start over twice for failing to do so already. There, your punishment is done, Kushina announced, gently rubbing the blonde's cherry-red backside much to her confused appreciation. Now, I tell you to go apologize to Naruto for trying to pull a stunt like that, but he's busy. Plus, I bet you don't really want him to know anyway, right? So you can apologize to me instead. I'm sore. Not like that. Gently, Kushina guided the blonde down onto her knees between the redhead's legs. From where Ino now sat, she could see that she wasn't the only one enjoying what they were doing. And even if she hadn't seen, Kushina scooted forward, giving her a better look at the liquid sheen coating her lower lips. Go ahead. I know you don't have a problem with getting involved with my son's women, you know. That was true enough. She hadn't expected to be on her knees in front of Kushina today, but there were certainly worse places to be. Cautiously, she leaned forward and got her first taste of her future clan matriarch's pussy. Kushina cast her head back, letting her long hair fall into a curtain behind her. Ah, that's it, just like that. She gently held the blonde's head in place as the girl got to work pleasuring her. Her other hand gently squeezed her own breast for that little bit of extra stimulation. So are you going to pull any more stunts like this? Ino murmured into the juicy cunt in front of her. Kushina grunted. You're lying to me again, you know? She sighed disappointedly. I know why you're doing it. You want to be my son's wife. I understand. That's why you keep doing these little things to stay on top, stay in control. Hey, I'm not even opposed to it being you know? You made a mistake before, but you're young. You can learn from it. And you aren't greedy with his love, that's important. But there's a limit to how in control you should be. Some things you really don't have any business butting in. Someone's first time? That's one of those things, you know? She began to run her fingers through the girl's hair, soothing. Motherly. Just let your friend have her first time with him. Let it be special for her, right? Ino murmured again, sounding somber. Guilty. She understood. She really was about to cross a line and she hadn't realized it. To reaffirm her apology, and as a thank you for stopping her from making a huge mistake, she worked all the harder to bring her future mother-in-law pleasure. Ooh. Oh my. Kushina moaned, laying back as she let the girl bring her true talents to the fore. Naruto had a strange wake-up call. It wasn't his mother dumping a bucket of water over his head. Nor was it Ino poking him until he finally woke up, or stroking him until he woke up. No, he was awakened by a relentless jostling of his bed. He twitched awake, grimacing, not knowing what was going on. His eyes opened and through bleary vision he saw 2 beautiful, pale heart shapes looming above him. His ears picked up whispers. It's so warm I can feel the heat coming off of it. Of course it's warm. Would you want it to be cold? A light giggle. No. I'm just surprised. Well, go ahead. Touch it. What if he wakes up? Then he'll ask you to touch it. Okay. The picture became clearer. The wiggling ass on his left was Ino's. The one on the right was Sakura's. It was strange seeing their lady parts from this angle, their tight slits even tighter for having their legs closed. But right as he felt Sakura's soft hands gently grab his stiff cock, Ino lowered herself to lay flat on the bed, her lower legs kicking back and forth as she watched her friend get used to handling their man's cock. That's it, gentle but firm, not too fast. Don't want it to be over too quickly. Just get him nice and hard. It seems way bigger like this, Sakura marveled quietly, her hot breath tickling the sensitive flesh. Yeah, it was a little intimidating the first time I did this, Ino agreed. But it isn't so scary once you get the hang of it. Are you ready to give it a try? Oh, okay, the pinkette gulped, here goes. Once again, Naruto felt her hot breath was over his member, before the softness of her lips wrapped around it eclipsed the feeling entirely. He almost groaned, but he didn't want them to know he was awake quite yet. There you go, Ino cooed, her hand in Sakura's hair. Remember, watch your teeth, use your tongue, there you go. NPH, Sakura murmured in acknowledgement, her tongue wriggling and riding around his cockhead. She hadn't taken much of him in yet, but was making up for that with her enthusiasm as she tasted her lover's cock for the first time. You're doing great, Sakura, Ino praised her efforts. Are you ready to go deeper? With a wet pop, her lips came off, leaving his cockhead cold and needy. I'm nervous, Sakura admitted. Will you help me? Of course, Ino quickly promised. Okay, get ready. Once again, Naruto felt Sakura's wet mouth envelop the end of his manhood, feeling that wonderful suction again. With one eye slitted open, he watched for the moment Ino grabbed hold of Sakura's head and began to push her down. Suppressing his own groan as her tight mouth took a couple more inches of him inside its wet warmth, he pulled his newest lover's left leg over his body. She grunted in surprise, but Ino took it as discomfort from her own actions. It's okay, just breathe through your nose. Sakura nodded, not giving the game away as she found herself squatting over Naruto's face. Naruto was happy for it. While he was enjoying her burgeoning blowjob skills, he took the opportunity to return the favor a little. Using his limited but effective experience, his fingers got to work stirring Sakura's glistening pussy lips. All with Ino none the wiser. Sakura groaned around his cock as Ino guided her bobbing head up and down the now spit-soaked cock. See? It's pretty fun once you get into it, right? Ino asked excitedly. Remember to play with his balls a little. Gently. Sakura agreed, mostly for one of Naruto's fingers sliding in and out of her pussy while another worked her clit. One hand moved to come over his leg and gently cup her boyfriend's sack, rolling his balls with delicate fingers. Okay, want to try something a little more advanced? Ino asked, slowing her guiding hand. A questioning hum. Whether it was fortunate or unfortunate timing, this was the point Naruto decided to bring her lower half down and introduced his tongue to the mix. So eager. Ino crowed quietly. And you called me a slut. Okay, get ready. The trick to this is all about timing your breathing and suppressing your gag reflex. It might take a little practice. Naruto quickly figured out where Sakura was most sensitive, even not having to see her face, just from the way her body reacted. But for all that those noises she made were for a rapidly impending orgasm, Ino took them as enthusiasm. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3 and Ino pushed Sakura's head down as far as it would go, Naruto's cock poking into her throat. The blonde quickly pulled her back up as she sputtered around the sudden invasion of her esophagus at the worst possible time. You okay? Ino asked. Oh fuck. Sakura coughed. Oh fuck. Naruto. Sakura's body quaked. Her hands balled into the bedsheets as she rode her boyfriend's face to a climax right after she choked on his cock. What? Her friend asked, suddenly realizing something was up. Looking back, she realized what was happening. Naruto, she reprimanded. How long have you been awake? Since right before Sakura touched me for the first time? He asked more than answered. Naruto, Sakura called out again, plunging back down to take his cock back into his mouth for a couple of seconds. Please don't stop, she begged, peppering his shaft with kisses as she said it before she inhaled it once again. Oh. Ino gasped in dramatic disbelief as Naruto went right back to eating Sakura's pussy to the pinkhead's obvious delight. Well, fine. I'm finishing Sakura's lesson and then it's my turn, she demanded, putting her hand back on the newly enthusiastic cocksucker's neck to guide her pace to something more even. For her second orgasm of the morning, Sakura didn't stop sucking, just screamed her orgasm around his dick, the vibrations a delightful thrum over the sensitive flesh. Sakura was a fast learner, especially for things she was enthusiastic about, and pleasuring her man was one such thing. With guidance